So, famous designer and team owner Bill Riley, if you could summarize this dinner in one word, what would it be?
American. We had an American dinner. We had
That's true.
steak. We had potatoes.
Why are you
We
yelling
had
at us?
fish.
Please,
Please
stop
sit
yelling.
down. Please sit down.
Because I'm getting ready for all the BOP yelling I have to do with against all my foreign competitors.
That went political. That went political quick.
It did.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
Welcome to Dinner with Racers. My name is Ryan Eversley, alongside my friend and co-host Sean Heckman.
What?
We're friends, right?
Sure. Well, so after 30 days of being in a car together, that's a questionable statement, but what can't be debated is the fact that we are now on like mile 8,008, probably just a couple hours outside of your home in Atlanta, and we are wrapping up this huge cross-country voyage to have lunch and dinner and breakfast with racers from all around the country.
We've driven my Acura across 20 states to go get all these dinners with racers sorted out, and we did it all on Continental Tire.
And with that being told, one of our 27 free conversations that you guys are going to get is none other than Bill Riley.
Whoop, whoop.
So Bill, if you don't know who he is part of the famed Bob and Bill Riley team. Riley Technologies, which is sort of the current company, is part of a long generation of the brand that's built many, many race cars over the years. Most famously, the Riley and Scott brand of cars that built the Riley and Scott chassis, the Cadillac LMP1. The company has now built the Riley Daytona prototypes, and of course the Viper GT3R that is also competing in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. All of that at the hands of the great Bill and Bob Riley. So Bill is an awesome dude. There's no other way to put it. And he is funny, he's incredibly smart, and not afraid to sort of let us know what's going on in the sport. He also has a lot of hate.
Yeah, he hates Kuno Whitmer, Mark Miller,
He hates Jeff Brown.
Brown,
He hates Dominic Farnbacher.
Dominic Farnbacher, the Taylor brothers. I mean, Ryan Eversley.
Yeah.
He definitely hates us. It was an awesome night. He got it right away, invited us in. He's got whiskey poured. He's got the grill fired up. Had no problems with us filming and just taking a look around, and I just absolutely enjoyed this dinner because he gets it. You know, we could have said, hey, we want to do something ridiculous, and he would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
We talked to him about what's on his DVR, and he pointed out all the same shows that Sean and I like to watch, so right away we felt pretty comfortable with him. His fiance Mary couldn't have been more welcoming and lovely, and we're still trying to figure out what she's doing with Bill. And this was round 2 of the chase for our cook-off. And Bill brought it home, man. Good steak and awesome apple pie a la mode.
So let's hear that dinner with Bill Riley and his fiancée Mary. Once again, courtesy of Acura getting us there and those great Continental tires making the whole thing happen.
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
So,
Thanks for being on our podcast.
Yeah.
No worries. Here's a gift.
So since we knew we were coming, we decided, since you're one of a few homes that we're visiting, we thought we'd come prepared. So it doesn't have I promise it's real. We got the photos, but this is some very authentic barbecue sauce from Laney's Barbecue in Selma, Alabama.
Nice.
It has sat in the back seat of our Acura for the last 3 weeks,
But
it might still be good.
I think
barbecue sauce.
they keep it room temperature anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how it was handed to us.
Yeah, this is how it came. It was just in this just off the shelf.
You could actually
jug.
buy a half gallon or a gallon.
Yeah.
So we
Of
just got a
Laney's
couple
barbecue
of
sauce.
quarts. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Awesome.
So
Huh.
good
There
luck
you
with
go.
that.
Yeah, enjoy.
From Alabama?
Make sure you cook
Yeah,
thoroughly
from
with
like
it.
deep South Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, it was in Selma.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
It'll go to good use. I promise.
the cattle probably eat it.
Yeah, cattle eat it.
So is this a thing? Do you guys cook out a lot?
I have a feeling Bill knows his way around the grill.
I'd say we do about once a week.
Nice.
Yeah, if we're home, we typically have a group of people out on the boat.
Yep.
You know, we have a little pontoon boat.
Nice.
and then we come back here and eat.
You're like a booze cruise kind of guy?
Yeah,
Immediately, Mary nodded before you even said anything. She's like, "Oh yeah."
we don't go that far. We're pretty safe. But then, I asked a bunch of women, do you wear the same bikini on a pontoon boat that you do on a speedboat? And they all said, yeah, the same. So we went pontoon boat.
All right.
So there you go. Simple enough.
logic.
All done. Yeah, it's very good logic.
First advice is chicks will wear bikinis on a speedboat or a pontoon boat.
And one is cheaper.
So get a pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I think some of them answered. I'm probably gonna get beat up later. Some answered that they wear more clothes on a speedboat because of the rough water.
Right.
So
And you can get more bikinis on a pontoon boat.
and you have a better view.
Saves your life.
So there's a lot of reasons.
Life advice with Bill
Yeah,
Riley.
yeah, pretty much.
So the
Not gonna get that out of the Taylor boys.
I almost heard like an emphatical like bitch at the end of that.
So the very first, because you and I didn't really know each other before we started working on the Keating stuff, and the very first time I interviewed you on video, for some reason we just sort of the random like, what else do you do away from the track question came up, and the first thing that came out of your mouth was Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
That you love going to Mardi Gras, and like I've always known you as like Bill Riley, the designer and engineer,
Yep.
like he's all business. It's like, oh, this guy can party.
Yeah, that's our shelf of trips. So you see some Mardi Gras masks, you have Mardi Gras some beads up there.
Right. Some, yeah, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Were they earned?
Are those yours?
The beads?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't like earn them. I bought them. But
Yeah,
I'm on
okay.
the other side. I'm on the I'm distribution
You're
of
like,
beads.
that's like a
not-
tenth of what's left
Oh,
of what you had before.
I'm going to go 100th. It's bad. So the way it works out is my family's from Lafayette, Louisiana, both sides, or they live in Lafayette, most of my family, and my cousin's daughter races an MX-5, and Miatas and all working her way up through. So I help them out as much as I can, and then it came to, well, what can we do for you? And my cousin just happens to be a co-captain on a Mardi Gras float. So in the one that's in Lafayette, and there's parades, all month long. You can buy vodka in church down there in Louisiana. So they party all the time. So
I'm moving.
yeah, exactly. So we would go down. I'd go down there. I went down there a couple times, and you ride the float and you throw beads to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a
Good
great.
viewing.
It's just a great time. It's a
It
great
sounds
time.
like it.
So I think I've done it 4 times. Haven't missed a year. And this year, Fat Tuesday is the second Tuesday after the 24 hours. So
So it's a good time.
yeah, so we'll go right after the 24 hour, and we'll go down and throw beads and have a good time.
Now, are you discerning about who you throw beads to? I mean, do you have to earn it, or is it? Is it just
No,
sort of anybody?
it's pretty. And Mary's gone on
I'd say
once
the
with me.
fiance is sitting here listening.
No,
so-
no.
All right.
No, she was right next to me. The whole
All
time.
right.
I think it's a bit more subdued than you would think.
Okay.
But I mean, it's pretty fun. There's a lot of kids asking, and there's old ladies asking, and then there's some young ladies asking too. So there's like a whole group of people asking, and obviously she's doing the same except the guys. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. It's-
Now, what do the guys have to do to earn it?
Yeah, how's that work?
yeah, how's that work?
On the spot.
I think they just have to look good or be in a fireman
well, that's
uniform
no
or
fun.
Wave.
something. Smile and wave.
All right. Now, do you only do hot guys?
No, I do all guys.
Whoa, that didn't sound right.
All right.
Do
It's on. You work for NASCAR, you say?
so there's that.
Yeah.
I like the kids, actually.
You're not helping. It's just getting worse. Quit while you're ahead.
iTunes is not going to permit this.
Hey, first episode blocked.
Red flag. Yeah. Whole show
No,
canceled.
it's fun. I mean, usually you give the beats to people who want to get them. And they're smiling and they're
Yeah,
reaching
they're
out and they're
yelling at it.
screaming. And there's a little kid, and it's a lot of fun. It's a
We
lot
did.
of fun.
I've never been to New Orleans, and Ryan has only been through in passing, right?
Yeah.
So we did during our first day of our trek. We went through New Orleans, went on Bourbon Street.
This was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's
Is what
6
it feels
or
like.
3 weeks ago. And I think we were both a little like there are certain parts that were super cool, but we couldn't believe how commercialized it had been. But the smell of Bourbon Street, we were not ready for. Oh my gosh, it is horrible.
I posted a
Depends on what time of day.
Well, this was a Saturday night,
right.
so we were there at the worst time.
First thing in the morning is pretty rank.
Oh.
Yeah.
Start cooking about 10 or 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay.
How many people do they find?
Mary, do you want a headset?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Sean, is my audio okay?
Yeah, let me turn
Doesn't
you.
sound right.
Yeah. Try it again.
Audio.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. How many bodies do they find there like every morning the next day. I mean, it's got to be like 1 a night that they're like, oh, that guy didn't
I'd have
make
to
it.
say there's a average.
Yeah. We had a dinner with Rutledge Wood, who's on Top Gear USA, and he's
Yeah.
a NASCAR guy. And he was telling us about his favorite race to go to is like Talladega because the infield's so crazy. And he was saying that back in the 70s, 80s, like they'd pull all the rigs out on Monday, all the tractors or motorhomes and all that, and they'd find like 2 or 3 bodies every time. And it's just like, well, that's that.
So does this side of Bill Riley come out at the shop?
I would say yes.
Does it?
And-
I
I
don't
keep
know.
it fairly light. I mean, it depends what's going on. I mean, sometimes, it's not, you have something going on that's pretty intense, and sometimes you don't. So you kind of have to, you change it up quite a bit. So you hate to act, bipolar where you're going to be, out of control, funny one time, and then super serious,
Sure.
shut up, I'm mad
Right,
the other
yeah.
time. But unfortunately, that kind of happens.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably always the balance is when you're having fun, people are under the illusion that they don't necessarily have to get everything done.
But I think that for me, on being fun, and people say, oh, I didn't know there was that side of you. I was pretty intense till a few years ago.
Yeah.
It took me a
was
while.
that Mary?
No, probably, but took me a while to get comfortable where I was in the industry.
Okay.
And so, like, I think I really buckled down, oddly enough, head down in the industry when I was 18.
Okay.
So people who know me or who meet me
Right.
think I'm a lot older. But it was
Right.
just that I started, like, head down, this is my career,
Right.
when I was pretty young.
Now, do you think some of that came from working with your dad?
I think so. And I think it was seeing some of my surroundings.
Yeah.
And seeing like, oh, I don't want to be like that guy or that guy.
Sure.
Because I see that, he's doing this and he's not focused enough. So I went way the other way.
Right. Well, Ryan, you're somewhat similar because you started at a very young age.
Yeah, I
with
was
the racing
17 when I
team.
started turning wrenches for Mike Johnson at Archangel
Okay.
Motorsports.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, back in 01.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I never really got to work under my dad until later in life to kind of build those, how to be at the job kind of thing. I just knew how he was at home. And so when I worked at Archangel, I just worked under a bunch of younger guys. Like Mike Johnson's just now turning 42.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, 14 years ago or something. So he was pretty young at the time. But he was laid back, so we had a really fun time. And I would go from that, and we were very successful, I should say. So when I went to other teams where guys that were in charge were nowhere near as successful as Mike was or good at their job, but then total dicks, I was like, ugh. Like, if it's going to be this hard, it better be fun.
Well, I've run race teams both ways. I've run them as a family. I've run them as a dictatorship, And for example, like on the Cadillac LMP program, I was running that. I don't know, I still had my father and Mark Scott above me in the company. But then, I was running that team, and Mark was busy with the IRL team, with the IndyCar team. And Bob, floated. And it was, I ran it pretty hardcore. But at the same time, I was 32 years old, and we had 4 cars at Le Mans. So I was pretty, overwhelmed in a way.
Yeah.
But I had good support. I had good people. Like I had Mike Croak with me and Bill Mullen, and they're great people. And so we had a good core group, but I was too hardcore at that point.
Yeah.
So you had to start lightening it up to where we are now. And it's probably, with Ben Keating and the way we're running the Vipers, it's probably some of the most enjoyable racing I have.
Right. But I also imagine some of that's a difference in sort of the customer, so to speak. Like with Ben Keating, you're answering to a Texas-based car dealership that's a lot of fun, versus you're not dealing with the manufacturer the way you used to,
Yeah.
and there's a little different.
Well, I think the culture of Chrysler, of Dodge, when I had that program, the factory program was going, those were really good people also.
Yeah.
Gary Johnson and Matt Benarowitz and Ralph Shields, they were really great people. So that made it a lot easier for me to get comfortable too.
Right. And I assume they were racers in the sense that
Big time racers. Big time racers. Let's stay focused on winning this race. But if the checkered flag falls and we have the trophy and the tailgates close, we're going to have a party.
Yeah.
Just so we're all clear, we're going to have a party. So that was a lot. That was a refreshing, breath of fresh air in the motorsports for me, was working with that group. Yeah.
So you're from Lafayette originally, is that what you said?
No, I grew up in Detroit.
Okay.
I'm from the streets.
But you,
So
I noticed a sleeve tattoo I hadn't
oh,
seen
yeah,
before. Yeah.
exactly. It's flesh colored.
Yeah.
It's badass.
So you just spend a lot of time down there? Is that what I took from that earlier?
No, I haven't spent a whole lot. I mean, we used to spend a couple weeks each summer.
Okay.
But
I was going to say, because Jeff Mosing drove for you earlier this year.
Yes.
And he is from Lafayette.
He is.
And he's all about it down there. He's always like, you
yeah.
got to come down and meet people.
Oddly enough, my father and I think Jeff and Brett's father they had the Mosings had a pretty good machine shop. My dad, when he was racing in Lafayette, he used to get stuff done there.
Yeah.
You know, when he did that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude. We actually went to his petrol lounge. Did you get a chance to go there?
I did.
When you were, yeah. So we just happened to drive when we left Jeff Braun's or Bose.
Bose.
Somewhere on this trip, we coincidentally ran through Austin. Saw a guy get hit by a car on a motorcycle.
Yep.
Had to chase
Hit
the
and
guy.
run. Yeah. Hit
Oh,
and
really?
run. We had to call the
Yeah.
cops and the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get the
yeah.
plate number and all that. It was fun.
Yeah.
But it was
What was
basically
interesting was watching you as a race car driver, like, oh, let's catch that guy. I'm like, no.
we had
Let's
him.
take a photo and
We had
call
him.
the cops.
I knew we- I
you
was
gotta
gr-
remember,
I
this
was
we're-
grinning.
It was you're like, is this our time? Like, it's day 2. Let's not no. And so,
But the way the trip was working out, we couldn't drive any longer because our next destination was too far. So we stopped in Austin. I just texted Jeff because he's a good friend, and I was like, "Hey, can we come check out your stuff tomorrow?" And I knew that Sean didn't understand how cool the place is, and so we actually took the
don't
camera
understand
there.
a lot of
and
things.
well,
So
clearly,
isn't it awesome or
But-
what?
oh my gosh.
It's such an eclectic collection.
yeah. And he
You
knows
know-
everything about every
yeah,
little
he's
car.
passionate
in
about
there.
every single car.
He had me. I went to the party he had there during the Austin Coda
Yeah.
weekend, and Ben Keenan and myself gave him a painted up car, a Viper of the one that he drove at Laguna Seca,
Yeah.
slot car.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he was so excited about that.
I'm
So
sure he's
that-
already run it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably worn out.
Yeah.
That slot car track was something else.
It was.
Yeah,
It was
that's
awesome.
like a kid's dream.
I mean, I'm a slot car guy, or was, and had a big setup at one of my former houses. So I'm sure at some point it's all boxed up. So at some point it'll emerge again.
Weren't you
Mary
racing
Willett?
karts not that long ago?
Okay.
Yeah, I raced. I got into kart racing in the late '90s because I was too focused on the normal racing career to drive.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a driver, but by the time I said, okay, I can start driving now, I was 30.
Right.
So I couldn't afford anything. So I got into karts, and some guys at work got into karts with me. So it was pretty fun. You know, we load up a tag trailer with 7 karts at one time and would all go racing. So it was a lot of fun. But then, you know, I started with Yamahas, and that wasn't much fun for me because I was too big.
And
Like-
you were doing like Big South Road Racing, I think.
Yeah,
is that
big-
right?
big-
You- like
big
the
tracks.
the big tracks. So basically, like Road Atlanta
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that
Road
stuff.
Atlanta, Road America, and all
Yeah.
that, and then got to 125 shifters, and then realized, oh my God, these guys do not care about going to work on Monday.
Yeah, no. it's-
Like they are nuts.
yeah, Penske's watching. Yeah, so
I mean,
gotta
yeah,
go
they're
for it.
crazy.
Yeah.
You know. So then I'm like, well, I don't want to go down to Yamaha's because that's a disaster for me. So I went up to 250 shifter. It's like, okay, all these guys have to work on Monday.
Right.
You know,
Right.
these
A
are
little different place.
this is my group.
Yeah.
So I raced 250 shifters for probably 3 years.
And those are like the big ones, like the ones that
Yeah, I
run
was-
the same lap time as like a GT
Yeah.
one car or
I
something.
mean, well, yeah, the good guy. I mean, I was good in the Midwest area. Won a championship one year, and then went out to Laguna, and then there's Eddie Lawson, and I mean he just slaughtered me
Yeah.
so bad. And I remember my second year, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna now I got a new engine. I got an RS 250 off a Grand Prix motorcycle bike. I mean, titanium crank, titanium rods. I mean, I am ready.
Right. You've got this.
I got this. Made a full under tray under the cart.
As you do,
full
right.
ground effects.
Right.
I'm supposed
Well, I mean,
to
you're
do.
building karts against Tony Dow at that point because he was, I think, doing
Yeah,
Eddie
he
Lawson
was a year
stuff.
after me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then,
Was there full CFD or anything on it?
no, it was
Okay.
before CF. It was like coffee fluid dynamics at that point. So then I go out for the first practice, and I made a formed seat for myself and all that stuff, kind of a lay down deal. And I go, man, the seat's poking into my ribs. I've been using the seat for a year and a half. I don't know what the deal is. And like every session I go out, it's worse and worse and worse. So it's like at the end of the race, I'm like, you're going to have to cart me away. I mean,
Just push me in the trailer.
no, I mean, push us in the trailer,
Yeah.
and I got to go in an ambulance because something is very wrong. So I get in the ambulance, and it hauled me away.
Wow.
Oh wow, you really did.
And I had a kidney stone, and I didn't know it. It's like no one in my family ever had a kidney stone. So here I am at Laguna Seca, just sucking ass.
Right.
Thinking like, oh, I'm pathetic and this and that. And I had a kidney stone the whole weekend. And I thought it was a seat broke, a rib was broken or something. And I was so slow. The 2 guys that came with me to help me wrench on it, I'm not going to tell them that I have a pain in my side from the seat because they're like, oh yeah, if you push the gas pedal harder, you won't have a pain.
Right.
So
yeah, sure you do. Yeah.
so I had a kidney stone, and I remember there was a fairly large nurse. I forgot her name. I think her name was Sally.
like tall. You mean
No.
tall?
No, she was large,
She big.
rotund, and she was the one that gave the morphine.
Oh, so
Oh,
good people.
I fell in love with
Good
Sally.
people.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was good.
So at a go-kart track, do people know that you're Bill Riley, and do you get that extra special attention of some like 40-year-old 125 guy who thinks that you're his ticket in?
No, not really. I never really played that up
Right.
because it was kind of my weekend away.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah,
But like even now when we do Chump Car, we don't wear team
Of
uniform.
course, yeah.
We make sure we bring an unbranded Easy Up.
Pretty sure
We
SRT
don't-
appreciates that too.
Unbranded trailers. We don't do anything.
Right.
So on the flip side of that is that my team in World Challenge, Real Time Racing, actually brings the race rig and Race Easy Up and pit box, and then they unload out of the race rig the jankiest Honda Civic you've ever seen, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the
That's
joke
the
about
joke.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite.
go
Where
the
I
other
kind
way.
of I don't really want people. But if you're at a Chump Car race and you have a handling issue, I will answer any of your questions for a beer. So
Ooh.
one
Oh.
beer answers a question.
I was
which
about
is
to say, Easy does it here.
fairly
Say.
large discount on my normal rate.
But this will not work at an IMSA event.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
well,
About like a
that-
bottle of whiskey, bourbon.
It depends what class. you're
Okay.
in.
All right.
All
Oh,
right.
all right.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. If I
Could
bring
be.
a PC car to your shop, can you just preset it up
No,
for
I
me?
don't like PC.
Hopefully Keating's not listening.
No, I don't like PC cars. No.
So I don't really want to talk much about like real racing stuff. I want to hear like good stories about you like burning rental cars down and stuff. But LMP3 is a thing that just came up. You guys are building an LMP3 car with Tony Ave. Do you think they're going to try to make that work over here? Because there's so much interest everywhere else, it sounds like. And Sean and I were talking about this quite a bit because I'm only really allowed to race the PC class outside of my World Challenge stuff. And so that's the only class I can like work on for the long races, basically. And we were talking the difference between PC and P3. Do you think it's kind of a bummer that they don't put the same engine in the back of the current P3 cars to compare to? Because I guess it was like 8 or 9 seconds slower at
Yeah, I
Watkins
was
Glen.
at that test.
But it also doesn't have the same motor. It's 100 horsepower less or something.
Unfortunately, that test didn't go as well as anybody planned.
Right.
Obviously, Janetta wasn't happy with it. No one was happy with it. And a lot of that was, I don't think they had enough time to get it sorted out for Watkins Glen.
Sure.
I know I couldn't do it. If they gave me a car that I've never been to Watkins Glen before, I wouldn't have been able to do it in that amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think we were quite ready. But to answer your question, your earlier question, and that long segmented question,
This guy's
the
Well, let's talk
His
about your
podcast.
podcast,
Yeah,
Bill
all right,
Riley.
Bill.
Yeah.
exactly.
Your years in
Yeah,
broadcast.
when you get to drive around the country and ask people
Who's your
questions,
next question? Who's your next guest, Bill?
I think
I've got them lined up.
yeah, it's probably my next guest will be Mark Miller. Matter of fact, if you want to know. And I'll call him later tonight, and we'll talk about it.
You guys can eat that casserole.
Yeah, that's fine. And I think he has 3 of them by this point. Waiting for you guys. Do you guys
Sure. Yeah.
You guys, what do you want? Steak, fish, a little bit of both?
Yep.
Yeah. I'll take whatever you're.
Do you mind? Do you mind serving? Okay.
Cool. Thank you. I will do. I'll do both.
Sorry.
Yes, I'll do both. Please.
Yes, please. Both. Thank you.
So, on the P3 car, it's a real shame because that is the car that should be racing in the U.S. somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's low cost. It's a kick-ass little car.
Yeah.
Well, I know ours is, and or will be. And for the value, there's no way anything can come close to this.
Right.
And I'm excited about it just because I know it's going to be a great track day car.
Absolutely.
It's safe. It meets the LMP1 crash tests. It's a stout car.
Right.
But it's a shame that it just didn't get launched right in the U.S.
Is the again, we don't want to make it too serious about racing, but is the basic issue that the speed just doesn't have a real place in sort of the IMSA structure, or what's the issue?
Yeah, I think it just doesn't quite fit there yet.
Yeah.
And I think, and obviously, I don't think there's anyone to blame in it about
Sure.
any of this. It just doesn't quite fit into a class yet. But when it does, it'll take off.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is a great little car.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think the PC competitors, I think they're pretty serious on what they want, or know what they want. So we'll just have to see. I guess a new PC car would come out in 18, or a different, or whatever they're going to do.
Whatever it is, right.
And so we'll just have to see what that car ends up being.
And how that all kind of fits in.
Yeah, how that shakes out.
Right. So you were saying this earlier, but Riley Technologies it's kind of divided into 2 categories. You guys build race cars, and you run race teams.
Yes.
And at least offline, there was a very clear preference towards one over the other.
Yeah.
So kind of how does that balance between you guys?
Well, I enjoy racing. I enjoy running race teams or being involved in race teams. I like that feel of it. I like the challenge of it. And the way it kind of all started was in, I guess, 89 or 90. We built a lot of race cars before that, but we were going to have an IndyCar team. We had sponsorship lined up and all that. And funny story, the sponsor said, "Oh, we don't want to, do IndyCar. We want to go to NASCAR." I was a kid at this point. I was in my early 20s, and my dad said, "I don't want to go back to NASCAR." My father was in NASCAR in the 80s, and as a consultant, he's like, "I don't want to go back to NASCAR." So he told, that sponsor, "Well, go, have a great time over there. Talk to you later." And of course, that was DuPont. So they went off to Conoco Oil, slash Krytox slash Kevlar, which is DuPont.
Yeah.
So they went off to NASCAR, and I guess they did okay. And then
Heard of them.
heard of them, yeah, they did all right. Some kid from Indiana, but anyway. So the IndyCar sponsorship dried up, and we're sitting there trying to figure out what to do, and also you start getting calls for people wanting Trans Am cars, and then you get people like George Robinson from Texas saying, "I'm sending you money for a Trans Am car." So you have to build it.
Yeah, figure it out.
There you
So
go.
George Robinson, Gar Robinson's father, who
Yeah.
runs at TA2, was our first customer. So he bought a Trans Am car, and then that was it. We're building cars. So we started building cars, several different kinds of cars. And then in mid-90s, 96, we started up a race team again with Wayne Taylor, brought the Konica Denka sponsorship. Together we got Pirelli and Oldsmobile, and then we started up racing on Mark III, against Ferrari.
Right.
And that was kind of one of those aha moments because people would come up to Bob out, be with them. And I was kind of more of a team manager role in that point. And they would say, "What are you doing, Bob? You're crazy to go up against Ferrari. Absolutely crazy.
Right.
No one's going to beat Ferrari. You're nuts." My dad, he said, "I don't care. We're going to race against them. I'm not scared of anybody." So, and I mean, not like my dad's going to go beat him up. I mean, you've seen my dad, but
Right.
but he's like, I'm not scared.
Right.
I'll out-engineer anybody. So that kind of taught me the tone of, that it's possible
Yeah,
and all
take
that
on the
stuff.
big
And
end,
I asked my dad too. I said, "Why? How'd you get that attitude? Kind of thing, or why?" And he said, in the '60s,
Thank you very much.
he was going to build my dad was going to build a sports racing car. And all of a sudden, an announcement came out that Lotus was coming out. I think it was a Lotus 30. And my dad just quit building that car, and went to Formula V's. But that would have been a better market.
Yeah.
And when the Lotus 30 got out, I think it was a Lotus 30, it was a flop. It didn't work. So my dad's car that would have been, would have beaten
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So that's when he decided he's not going to be afraid of
Just do
going up
whatever.
against
Yeah,
anybody,
yeah.
type thing. But that was probably like the, he asked me earlier in the email, about an aha moment, and that was that '96 season. We were up against Ferrari and, and up against, and there were serious people engineering the cars like Jeff Braun and all that,
Yeah.
and Kevin Dorn. At that time, he was a powerhouse. So I mean, it was a lot of fun back in the '90s, beating those guys at Daytona and Sebring, and then winning the championship.
Those are my favorite times of racing because I was born in '83 and my dad was an IMSA GTP guy, but I didn't really know what was going on until early '90s, like to understand it. And so when I finally did understand racing to an extent, it was like Wayne Taylor, Dyson Racing,
Yeah.
the Ferrari 333s from anybody that had them. And I was
Yeah.
always a Riley guy. I was a Dyson fan.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like James Weaver was like my hero.
Oh,
growing
yeah, for
up,
sure.
He was the man. And so we talked about that with Jeff Brown, and I was like, "Hey, what was your heyday?" And he's like, "Yeah, it was probably when we ran the Ferrari versus the Rileys. Those are the years."
Yeah, those are pretty good years.
Yeah.
And Weaver was just he was really good. He was outstanding.
My favorite thing about him is that when I first knew who he was probably already in his 40s,
Mhm.
and he was like known as the fearless, last of the late breakers. Didn't care who you were, what the conditions were. And it was like him versus Pappas for a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
And Pappas was just off the boat, and he'd raced F1, and it
Yeah.
was like, who are these two totally different people? Pappas is like the young stud. Weaver's wearing pink socks.
Yeah.
You're like, how is that guy the man? Just looking at him walk around the paddock.
I don't know if I've seen anybody that's had as much trust in a car that I've been involved with in James Weaver. Because I remember like one of the last times the Mark IIIs ran was Daytona, let's say. I don't know what that been, 2001,
Yeah,
2002.
probably somewhere in there.
I remember just almost walking down to turn one during practice and watching Weaver go into turn one, which was a sight to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just thinking to myself, this is the last time I'm ever going to see anybody have this much trust, because everybody was switching over to the newer generation cars. Anybody's going to have this much trust to in one of our vehicles than Weaver did, and he was a big part of the Mark III success. Was Weaver.
And cutting to 2015, in my eyes, kind of Goosens is kind of your guy these days. So where did that come from?
Well, I think at the time, both Mark and I were both kicked to the curb. Cadillac kicked our company to the curb into 2000, and then Cadillac kicked Mark to the curb at the end of 2001. So we're kind of both together. I met Mark in 2000 because he drove for Dams on the Cadillac team.
Yeah.
And so we were both kind of kicked to the curb, and it was kind of like, well, let's work together. So we were fortunate enough to have Jim Matthews as a car owner.
Carolina Turkey.
And
Remember those Rileys?
And he put Goosens in with Guy Smith at Sebring in 2002, and we finished on the podium on Goodyear's, and all the other cars were Michelins. We beat one of the Audis. They had problems, but we still beat them.
This was before you had the excellent Continental tires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So then we just kind of gelled after that. And Mark, the thing I like about Mark, so Mark and I worked together for a little while. Then I worked with Angelelli for a while. Then worked back with Mark, and I enjoyed working with Max also. And Max also wringed the car's neck, and it's kind of one of those things. I'm not involved, and when I say myself a car owner, please understand my father is partners with me on everything, but I don't mind when a race car driver wrecks one of our cars. I'm not attached to our cars. I hate our race cars. My favorite race, but the car I hate the most is the one we just finished. The car I like the most, we're building it right now.
Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
So I don't mind. I'm not attached. I don't care about chassis numbers. I don't care where the old race cars go.
Yeah.
They just need to go, because I was with him, and my father ruined me on that, because I was on a vintage race with him one time, looking at old cars, where they had vintage cars there. And I go, oh, look, there's an Intrepid. Let's go look at the Intrepid, because we both worked on that. And
Favorite GTP car of all time.
He goes, I don't want to look at that car. And I go, why not? He goes, all I see is our mistakes. And since then, whenever I look at a car, I go, start to look at. So I don't mind when the cars go away, or attached to them.
So what do you think of the steak?
Yeah, speaking of
Steak.
crit,
Holy crap.
how is it
Yeah,
really?
the salmon's
Seriously.
really good. Yeah, no,
Honest
I
to
tell
God.
you.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Tyler
Yeah.
or the Taylor boys?
Yeah, how the Taylor boys going to? I mean,
Well, it's been thrown.
I mean, they're going to Google their recipe, obviously. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's how you do it. Yeah.
yeah.
They don't kill the pizza with their own hands, but you definitely killed this with your own hands.
Are they having steak, or are they doing pizza for you?
We don't know yet.
Yeah, we didn't really get too pushy
We have
with
a
them. Like, hey,
9-hour
cook for
drive.
us.
Yeah, we have a 9-hour drive to figure that out tomorrow.
Okay, all right. I'm worried. I don't like those two. They're teaming up.
They're up to no good. I know it.
I know it.
With the Intrepid, did you worked on that as well? That was beginning of your career.
Yeah,
I'd
I
assume?
mean, my father was a lead designer on that.
Yeah.
And I was underneath him. It was just him and I. Drew it all in with pencil. And I have a solid year of my life into that design.
I look at that car and it looks like it is. I mean, it looks like a wedge. It looks like the best Pinewood Derby car you could ever design if you wanted to make downforce.
I think that car it had a bit of a strange history. It was designed in '85, and then got shelved, and then redesigned it again in '88. It got shelved, then redesigned again in '91. Because in '85 it was against the 962. We knew we could beat the 962.
Yep.
And 88, still could beat all those cars. And the problem, I think, with the Intrepid was it was just the power. Mm-hmm. People talk about, it was draggy. No, it didn't have any power. I mean, it had, by the rules, it had a 6.5 liter Chevy, with 750 horsepower. But in the 80s, the BMW had 1,400 in qualifying trim.
Right.
We're 1,000 in race trim.
Mm-hmm.
So you're giving up 250 horsepower. So that was its biggest fault. When we were designing it, Jim Miller wanted to use a Judd V10, Formula One engine in a 3.5 liter or 3 liter, and that's what we wanted to do, because it would have been a light car. Could have used a lighter gearbox, and we would have killed them. And IMSA said no, we don't want any Formula One engines in this series. So we went to the small block Chevrolet and all that. And then, then they let in the XJR14 a year later.
Which is a Formula One car.
Which is a Formula One engine. So it was kind of a slap in the face to the competitors. So I think that's kind of what, in a way, killed GTP, was not allowing stuff, telling you no, then telling other people yes.
Right.
You know,
How would you compare that to the current era?
the current what?
The current era.
Well, I actually think the pressures of social media keep people more straighter than they did back then.
I would agree. Wholeheartedly, almost to a, I mean, well, not almost, to a fault.
Yeah, you know, I mean, an email came across today, you know, when you guys are setting up, from Simon Hodgson at IMSA, about the driver rating category for GTD,
Oh.
which is
That's
a
not a-
huge issue for
Bill,
us.
let's have a chat.
So,
Talk about a sore subject.
So we got
so
2 hours.
you know, I got that email and I read it and I'm like, man, I'm not smart enough to understand this. So
Let me help you
like,
out.
I need a cave painting or something. You know, please help me.
Wait, they make it more complicated?
So then I called up Jeff Carter. I feel like I could call him after hours because the email came after hours.
Right.
And then I called up Jeff and he took my call right away. And
Jeff is the competition director at
yeah.
IMSA.
And Jeff goes, it's the same as 2015. I'm like, oh, okay, I understand now. Okay. I was reading it, you know,
Yeah.
focusing on the wrong word. So anyway, so now that was all good. But I think if they made like big changes like that, before you would read the rule book, and so you read the rule book and don't like the rule, well then I got to go call Ryan. So I got to go find his phone number in the Rolodex and call him up on the phone and wait for him to call me back. You know,
Right.
maybe leave a message. Well, now, you know, I can take that email, you know, copy paste it, put it on my Facebook page.
right.
You know, what the hell are they thinking?
Right.
And then all that. I mean, I like the 2015 rules are the way to go, and I'm glad they did it because it makes sense.
Who made the potatoes, more importantly?
The potato.
Excellent.
Yeah, potatoes are pretty.
Absolutely excellent.
Do you like the steak though?
Oh, steak is excellent.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah. No, the Taylor brothers have the work cut out for them.
They better.
I'm going to toe the line, and I'm not being like, because we're not journalists, so we can't even claim to be professional. But I'm going to toe the line and say it is, to me, a true toss-up between this steak and then the one from Mrs. Brown.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Game on.
It was a different
It'll
style.
be a
It's a very
tough
different
Yeah,
style.
because
And we will be
You're in the playoffs.
That proves that they're liars. Just so you know, the Browns, Jeff Braun and Diana are liars because when they were here eating our steak happily at that table, they said this was some of the best steak they ever had. Is that correct?
Way to go, Sean.
All right.
Way to make the Browns into liars.
Yeah.
I started it good. Now, so there's a rivalry now. All right, it's on.
there's
Have to have a steak off.
Making it happen.
Actually, what we were going to propose is that you've made the chase, and so we're going to have a final
Okay.
cook-off.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. You're
Daytona.
the
It
chase.
probably wasn't my best night, but I have to
Daytona.
work on it.
Yeah.
It was raining.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to see Jeff at Daytona. He just slaps me. What'd you do?
Never speak to me again.
Yeah.
Don't look me in the eye.
We let you in our kitchen.
I like Jeff. Jeff's a good guy.
He's
Jeff
awesome.
and Diane are both good people.
Are you familiar with D Sports Racers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you aware of this story?
Do you know where
Yes.
this is going?
Oh.
We
Oh,
might need to
exactly.
use you for a side project.
Yeah.
So he told us
So
puts his hand up.
Eversley, quiet.
D
I
Sports
have the
Racing is my favorite class of motorsports.
It was.
It
And
was.
why? Let me guess. Because it's sort of family-built, affordable racing.
And back in the 80s,
Okay.
there was an engineer at Buick named Ray Crotrochi when we ran the Buick IndyCar program. Of course, I was a data guy / tire guy in that. But he wanted me to design and build a D Sports racer, build 2 of them, and he would do the engines.
Okay.
A turbocharged 600cc motorcycle engine because he was a turbo guy.
Sounds familiar.
So we're like,
We
I'm like,
know
yeah,
it's
that'll work. He goes, I can, you can. There's no problem, Bill. You know, getting 300 horsepower, 350 horsepower back then. I'm like,
Sounds
okay.
familiar. Yeah.
So, you know, obviously we never did it, of course. Then about, I don't know, 2004, maybe 5, when D Sport started to take off.
Yeah.
Maybe 2000. You know, I started to draw one up. You know, just quarter scale, because the shop was looking for work.
Oh,
Like-
Simon Hodgins calling you. I don't know if you want to take that.
Put him on the air. Speaker.
Better not.
Speaker.
He's called me back, which is very courteous of him. But
You can take it. It's fine. We can
no,
shut down.
no, it'll go on too long. I'll see. I'll talk to him later.
Is that normal that IMSA officials call you at, 8 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Hey, you're Bill Riley.
No, I'm
You know
not.
what I
Saying, yeah. The man works all hours.
Always on the phone.
I understand.
Yeah, and then Ken Swan calls me from. Kenny texted me too. So anyway, from level 5. So anyway, then cost out a D Sports racer. Let's say in the early 2000s, and I go, okay, the stores $70,000, you know, so I got to be in that range. Did a cost analysis. Got to sell 10 cars at $700,000. Going to have this much in design in it, so I can't make it work. It won't work for us. I got to sell the car for $100,000, and that's out of the market range.
Right.
Yeah.
So then Ed Zabinska calls me up. So do you like
Ed, of course,
D-Sports racers?
being a good friend of Scott Tucker's
Yeah.
at level 5.
And he goes, do you like do you know anything about? Have you ever heard of this class called D-Sports Racer? I'm like, yeah. Like I like you know, because I race supercars. So
Yeah,
obviously the next
course.
step is
It's
D-Sports,
D-Sports, right.
You know, except they're not as fast. So it's like I just love D-Sports. And then they go, well, we want to go break the track record at Road America, blah blah blah, this and that. I'm like, yeah. So I'm doing the numbers. Like, oh, it's going to cost them this. I'm adding everything up. Like, it's going to cost this much money to do. You know, I'm like, I can't even say it. I can't say that number.
No.
You know.
And little did you know.
He can.
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, let's say it's $250,000 without engines.
Yep.
I go, I can't even say it.
No,
so
I get it.
I go, I'm going to no quote because it's too embarrassing for me.
Right.
This
Because
is you
I
on the
was,
phone at the time.
yeah, because I was selling DP cars to him and all that stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not going to damage the DP relationship.
Sure.
Right.
Over me quoting $250,000 on a D Sports.
Yeah,
It's not going to happen. So then little did I know, you know, that it was going to be a $2 million D Sports racer that, you know, is going after their racing off of some 30-year-old kid and that has like that brought his girlfriend and their dog to the racetrack. That's who they're up against. You know, I mean, I didn't know that it was, that, you know, it was clubbing all the baby seals in Antarctica. I just didn't know. Right. If I would have known, like if Ed would have said, well, I think we're going to allocate $2 million to do this.
Yeah, you
I
would
would
have changed your
I would have
perspective.
been pretty into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
Made it
into
work.
it. Like way into it.
Sounds like the greatest regret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's what Jeff was talking about.
But at least I'm not bitter.
Right.
I'm more pissed off
Barely
about
remember it.
that you guys say it was my mistake it made to chase.
You're in the Final Four going into Homestead, man.
Have you had that kind of opportunity where somebody just came to you and made it clear the checkbook was no issue?
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm just going to exploit the hell out of this and make the perfect race car.
I've had people tell me that like on the race weekend. Like
Like they're full of
no, like for example, Jim Matthews
Okay.
would tell me like on Thursday, like you do whatever you need to do to win this race for me, and on Monday I'll complain to you nonstop about how much money we just spent. You know.
Okay.
Like okay.
Right.
So it's 2002 Daytona, soft tires it is. You know, every stop, soft tires. You know, it was $84,000 tire bill for one car back then, which was a lot. And you know, then obviously Monday Jim, you know, called me up and yelled at me. But we finished second to Kevin that year with the Dallara.
Yeah.
So Kevin Duran. But yeah, I mean, I've had people say that on the weekends. I usually have to stop myself from doing it. Right.
Well, and here was the thing. Like if you're Jeff Brown, for example, you know, we've all been in the sport long enough to know that you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, budget's no issue," and then they get the bill, and it turns out, yes, it was. And I assume at this point you're preconditioned to not ever trust when somebody comes and says blank checkbook.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. Like the setup we have now with Mr. Keenan's with Ben is really good. You know, we set the budget, we agree to the budget. Then it's my job to stay under the budget.
Right.
And but at the same time, the way I look at it, compared to some of my competitors look at it, is when I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to want another Rolex.
Yes, please. Thank you.
I'm not going to be happy about how much money I saved at the 24 Hours Daytona because I didn't put a fresh gearbox in before the race weekend.
What
You
team
know-
owners are you talking about?
What's that?
Nothing.
So I kind of have a different philosophy going into the race weekend and some of the competition because I'd rather have the win, get more win record, have that be something better for me down the road than saving my money and doing something else.
Right.
You know, simple as that.
Well, and you also have the integrity to know that you're going to get other business
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you continue that way.
If you continue with the win record and
Yeah.
championships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
How many races has Riley won in IMSA Grand Am now?
I don't know.
That's like 100 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's close.
He's like, yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And then as far as the Riley family, my father and I at Daytona, we have
Thank you.
30 wins.
That's
30,
crazy.
31 wins.
I have a podium there in ST.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, 31 class wins at the 24 Hours Daytona.
Yeah.
Not including the summer race.
How do you
Right.
guys split up the duties?
I guess right now,
Just to clear, you and your dad.
yeah, Bob's really in the design office all the time.
Do you call him Bob Riley?
I call him Bob or call him Dad. Depends on what we're doing.
Okay. Is that a professionalism thing, or he's just always
If
been
we're
Bob
around
Riley?
people, I call him Bob. If,
Right.
if it's just him and I call him Dad.
Okay.
When you guys are working together, do you ever get into it?
The only time we argue is about shock springs and bars.
Does he call you by your full name when he's giving it to you?
No, we
give you the
usually
middle name
just
thing,
walk away from it either.
I got you. Doesn't still try to ground you or
No,
anything
but
like
we're
that.
usually very connected on which direction to take the business. Very connected.
And it's been pretty damn successful.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
it
I mean,
seems to be going the right way.
he's 84. He works every day. Still, every day.
Yeah.
So, and he's still happy doing the design work.
Right.
So, I mean, he's still hardcore. He's up there. He was there, when I left to come here working on the P2 Aero. So he's on it.
Right. That's for the Multimatic venture you guys
Yeah,
have
the
going
Multimatic
for
Riley
for
car,
the
yeah.
17 or whatever.
Yeah, we have a big review with Multimatic tomorrow.
When's that car going to become public, like just visually?
As late as possible.
Yeah. Copy that. Yeah.
When it unrolls at Daytona.
yeah.
Well played.
There's a reason that you don't see much about the P3 car,
Right. Yeah, cool.
how it looks.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing when it comes out.
Yeah.
With the success you guys have had, you've obviously built, just in terms of not types of cars, but amounts of chassis. How many cars have rolled out of Riley's doors?
Oh, well, if you look at the Riley and Scott years, we did I don't know how many Trans Am cars we did, 40 something. 40, like if you look at some numbers, there's like 42 Trans Am cars, 50 DP cars,
Jesus.
22 Mark IIIs. Those are probably the big chunks of
Yeah.
the three big chunks.
And as a manufacturer,
Oh, and then 11 Vipers, and then 8 track day cars.
I hear this from Porsche people all the time that the fastest the Porsche Cup car is when it rolls off the showroom floor, and then people screw it up from there on out. How often do you get phone calls or emails or setup sheets and you look at it and you're like, why did you do this?
Usually it's not in the setup sheet, it's something else.
Yeah.
If there's an issue. But every now and then a customer will bring a car back for a master reset. And then we'll do a master reset.
yeah.
And they just completely kind of go back to the default on everything,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like Level 5 when they bought the DP cars, that at that time at Daytona, the 140 was a magic number, and on its first shakedown test, it did a 39 something. This was in 2009.
Yeah.
So it was like that car's, or 2010. It was like that car's really, really, really fast. We shouldn't touch it, and then it slowly.
It went slower, right? Yeah.
Slowly backwards a little bit. And that was with Bushu was driving it during that.
Oh, well, Lally probably
Yeah,
hated
that's
it.
his favorite driver.
Yeah.
So Bushu comes up because we were talking offline that if there was one driver that you could punch in the face, Lally, that was like his number
number
two
two.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if there's if you could just freely punch somebody in the face,
Oh boy.
He's like, how much time do
all
you
right,
have?
Yeah,
we got
I
all
mean,
day.
Well, 2 drivers have hit me in pit lane, so that's
really?
usually probably the big thing.
Let's hear it.
Who?
Who should I be concerned about?
Well, when we won the championship in '96 at Daytona, Pappas in a 333 came down and stopped in our pit box,
Right.
like angrily stopped in our pit box, and he held his hand out to shake my hand, and I walked in to shake his hand, and then he took off and ran my feet over.
No way.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Classy.
And then Justin Bell hit me in pit lane in a Corvette.
That was probably an accident, though.
That was not an accident.
Really?
No, because he had room to go out further.
Right.
He was just clipping it too close.
You just didn't want to have a career
Yeah.
anymore.
I don't know about that, but I was going to bring up the point if he ever came up to want to drive for us again. Like, no, you can't drive for us. You hit me. Sorry.
but I didn't have it. You've been waiting for that moment.
Noted. Yeah.
Noted.
We'll make that happen.
So not that I want to punch those guys in the face or anything, but
Maybe run over
they
their
both
feet.
did hit me in pit lane. Just so
Right.
we're clear.
Man.
So the track weekend, my business partner Jason, who does a lot of videotaping when I can't do it, I told him, okay, we had a shoot in Indianapolis last year, and I'm like, okay, so you're going to meet these guys at the Viper Exchange team. You need to interview these 3 or 4 guys, and one of them is going to be Bill Riley. He's got this, but 7 other programs going on at the same time. And he tells me the greatest story at the end of the day, which is he's like, so I met Bill. I'm like, oh, how did that go? He's like, well, he looked me in the eye, shook my hand, and went, I'll have no time for you, and then walked away. Yeah, that sounds about right. Tell me about how busy, because with everything you have going on IMSA weekend, I mean, a day in the life of Bill Riley's got to be a little bit rough.
Well, the thing like right now with Ben Keating, is you have a guy who doesn't ask for anything, doesn't demand anything, doesn't call you up and bitches you out, understands the whole thing. That makes me work harder than any other atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm more concerned with making Ben Keating happy than anything else. And he's a super easy guy to get happy, but you don't want to let him down.
Yeah.
You know that he's a super busy, super successful businessman. This is his escape. So let's make this escape the best part of his life. Besides doing stuff with kids, of course.
Right.
But let's make this
vacation.
a tremendous experience for him. So I'm pretty focused right now on making sure the weekend goes smooth.
Right.
And plus, it's good for the company, of course.
Yeah.
GT racing is where all the manufacturers play. So obviously the Viper deal is winding down. Everybody reads about it, the production car. So it's time, it's when the next deal comes up, we want to be in line and be in good standing
Right.
to get that to help an OEM develop another car.
Which you prefer? Because I assume, like in a customer-based team like what you're operating with now with Ben, you got one guy, keep him happy, keep him winning, you're in good shape. OEMs, I assume, are a very different kind of beast because you have a layer of management, you've got different expectations.
I think the OEM, like if it's a Viper experience, it's really fun because you have
You're dealing with
a
real
good
racers.
OEM.
Yeah.
And they're fun and they're fun and they like and I mean they're just they're just fun, nice people. And then some other OEMs might have that layer of management or that layer that doesn't work out. But if I could do the ideal program for me, it's to do the exact thing we did with the GT Le Mans Viper program, where you have obviously good people, good OEM, you have good engines from Roush Industries, you have you're in fully control of your destiny on working on the car and what you do to the car. So like for example, let's just say we got a GT3 car from another company that's a new car, a new OEM. There would be all these emails going back and forth around the chain of what's wrong. So like we'll go to a test, let's say with a Viper, say the air conditioning doesn't work. We'll go up there, we'll go in the drawing office, we need to redesign the air conditioning. Okay, what do you want to do? I think we should try it like this. What do you think, Tyler? Yep. What do you think, Bob? What do you think, Garrett? Okay, let's redesign the air conditioning. Done. Email Chrysler, we're going to have a new system out for 2 weeks for the next test at VIR. Done. Then we see how it works.
Right.
No one's
While the other way,
no one's like, no, I don't
the other
know.
is like, well, then the other one is like, Ryan against Sean against Mary against, everybody's all mad at each other and Bill's trying to look better than everybody else.
It's that sort of middle management. If I don't reply, all of a sudden I look like I'm not working.
Right.
Yeah.
So that this program was the ideal program.
Yeah.
This is what I'd want to do again.
I want to go back to the Riley thing just to finish the topic for my interest.
Okay.
But have you ever gotten to drive any of the cars you built?
Yeah. When I was racing shifter karts, we were running the Mark 3C at Atlanta, and Goosens and Ave were testing along with Jim, and we were Goosens and Jim Matthews were testing, and so Jim's running around Goosens running around at 111 at the time, which is fast. It was in 2002, and Matthews running around at 113. Then we had like these 3 other drivers were testing that day, to see who's going to get the 3rd seat. Ave tested the day before, and he was the quickest, so he got the seat. But anyway, so Jim is kind of near the end of the day, and those guys were all doing 15s. And Matthews, he would not put up with if he hired a driver that was slower than him.
Faster,
he will not do it.
Yeah,
won't do it. So I remember Jim goes, Bill, you ever drive one of your cars? I go, no. He goes, you want to drive this one? I'm like, okay. And he goes, you ever been to Atlanta? I go, no. He goes, okay. So,
Nice.
we go up to the store at Panos, we buy some shoes and all that stuff, and then, I find a fire suit, and I put on a helmet, a fueler helmet. I'm like, let's go. So I take off in this thing, and it's an LMP1 car.
Yeah.
It was my first time in Atlanta. So I'm driving it around, and then it was right when they got done paving that shortcut at 5.
Yeah.
So we had a predictive lap on that, which was kind of new at the time. So I took the shortcut, came down, and Goosens goes, Bill, the front straightaway, turn 12, that's flat. That's easy flat. That is no problem flat in this car. You just have to turn. The car will do the rest. I'm like, okay. So I knew 12 was flat. So come up underneath the bridge, and I'm like, let's
Yeah,
go.
well,
So,
here we go.
just flat out. You're
First
just
lap
going
out.
through the gears, first lap out.
Yep.
Flat out through there. Like my first flying lap was like a 1:14 something. So I did shortcut.
With a
So
shortcut.
I'm like, well, it's not going to get any better than this. So I come in, after like one lap, and they're like, well, how was it? And I'm like, oh, it was good. It was good. And one of the drivers, one of the guys there, his name rhymes with Marino Fanchitti. Damn it. That's his name. So he says, oh, you're pretty good in these things. And I'm like, so it was pretty funny.
Nice.
It was pretty funny.
And then to this day, until they listened to this, of course, they never knew that you shortcut.
I think they knew pretty quick. The data guy couldn't keep a secret.
Somebody was like, hey,
Yeah,
wait
the
a
data
minute.
guy couldn't keep a secret. So. But right now, driving-wise, Chum Car's my level.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Chum Car. I know my level right
You
now.
got to know your
Chum
place.
Car.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
So Ryan hasn't seen it yet, but why don't you divulge what's sitting in your garage right now?
Oh, did you see it?
I saw it.
Okay.
I cheated.
Well, when I was 18, I wanted a Omni GLH Turbo.
Of course.
Like bad. I really wanted one. And now, with $200, I have one. So I'm on Omni number 3.
Congrats, man.
Nice.
Thank you.
Happy for you.
I'm on my 3rd Omni right now because I can't find one that doesn't have their frame rails rusted too. But this one looks good. This is a keeper. So slowly building up this Omni Chum Car. But me and Tyler Hook and Jim Kasperzak, we race a Ford Probe and Chum Car every chance we get.
Is this Colin Braun's old probe?
No.
Okay.
No.
The look of disgust
Yeah.
was
no.
amazing.
No. Colin brought a probe because we had our probe.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So,
there it is.
yeah.
There's a Brown rivalry here.
Yeah, I'm picking
Jeff
up on a
Brown
little
got
bit.
my scraps with level
Yeah,
5.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I had that deal.
That D Sports Racer was mine.
Exactly.
So
Might be a little competitive.
who are the Bill Riley rivals? I mean, I'm guessing it's like maybe not in the current form because Kevin's not in that class, but was for a long time. Kevin Doran, obviously the Rileys, the Dorans, the Wayne Taylors.
Yeah, I mean, like who do I like get up in the morning and go, I got to beat those guys?
Right. The Troy Fliss now. Oh wow, maybe not.
I like Troy. I went on vacation with Troy earlier this year.
Yeah.
Or a few weeks ago. I don't know. I mean, right now, obviously, my sights are pretty focused on Ligier, Eureka, and Delara.
Sure.
For the LMP2, and then obviously Janetta and Ligier, Dome, and Ades for the 3 car. So I mean, that's who I'm focused with.
Right.
The GT3 thing is tougher because you're you're focused on Porsche and Porsche. So,
Oh, okay.
what's that? Oh yeah. I hate Kuno Whitmer.
I bet.
Let's just get that out of the way right now.
I was
I
going to say
hate
that. Apply for a
that
second.
son of a bitch. If you now, that's who I want to punch in the face.
Let's talk about it.
I want to punch him in the
Get it.
He has
face.
a reputation of
So
being
bad.
unbearable.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
he
nobody
is.
likes
He's
that
a
guy.
horrible human
Right,
being.
that's all I hear about him.
Horrible human being. So when he's on the Viper program, he's like he gets Goosens to complain about everything. They make Goosens like the Union Steward. So
Dad. Go talk to Dad. Dad likes you.
Yeah, Bill will tolerate you. You can talk to him. So, we have a sawbelt deal. And sawbelt stuff's all right. And Goosens is, and they're all complaining about the shoes. Just nonstop complaining about the shoes. And we're getting them 6 pairs a year of these shoes, and they're just complaining. So then I'm at Lime Rock, and Kuno's driving for Kevin. And here's Kuno in my sawbelt shoes that he complained about for 2 years.
Well, Kevin's not going to buy him some.
Yeah. So me and Greg Jones tackled him,
Nice.
ripped his shoes off, and threw him into the grass, and made him go get them with his socks on. This was on the pre-grid, like drivers to your cars.
Like he has no choice.
He has no choice. So then at
Then we
Road
gave him
America,
swirlies.
so I told him that if he at Road America, you can either give me the shoes back or give me a fifth of Crown Royal. Simple as that.
Yeah,
So
fair.
we got our crown, and then it was kind of funny at Road America. I don't know what happened. They messed up. They did something wrong, and their strategy was off. So we're all sitting there. I'm like, it's one of those deals, and we've all been there. Like, what are they doing? What's their plan here? What's the end game that they're doing?
Thinking they know what they're doing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
how are they getting through there? And all of a sudden,
No comment.
Greg Jones gets on the radio and goes, "They're coming down pit lane this lap." What? I mean, they're trying to lead the middle. What
Right.
are they doing?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I get on the radio to crew channel and go, "Everybody on pit wall, wave to Kuno." So we're all out there, and Kuno's coming up there, we're all out there waving at him, and you can see him. He sees us, and then he sees his hand go like that, and go back down. He was so mad,
Even in his mad state, he waved.
and he said he started laughing. He was laughing during the whole pit stop, at the end. So then we waved at him somewhere else too.
I'm sure
Coda.
I
Coda.
thought it was the Glen.
No, Coda. We waved at him too.
Two rumors I know of, and you don't have to. We can this out. Are you losing Kuno for next year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have him for this year.
Not Kuno. Jerome.
No.
You staying?
Is that public? No. If
Yeah,
only
well-
I knew his PR
well, when's
guy.
this- when
What
does
am I
this
saying?
come out?
November 18th.
November 18th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Adam before we
It's
do
going to be
that.
announced. At SEMA, it'll be announced at
Oh,
driver line.
okay.
So
Cool.
I can, but Jerome's been locked up, signed, and delivered in July.
He's rumored to be one of the 4GT guys.
I think they were talking to him. Now he can.
That'd be smart too.
In our contract, he is available to go do other stuff. So he might get the ride in WEC.
Go to Le Mans or something.
And then if there's a conflict with the IMSA schedule, just like we did, I think in 14, Ben and I would look where we were in the championship and see about releasing him or not.
So you guys would actually let him go do something if he had.
We have in the past.
Yeah.
If he had a shot.
This year, Ryan DL actually, had he stayed for the World Challenge race at Sonoma, would have won the championship by 100 points if he matched the guy that replaced him's results.
Yeah.
And he was tied up with Patron, and they wouldn't let him out of his deal because he's racing over in the WC, and it just blew my mind because they aren't going to win the WC championship. They're barely fighting for the top three, and he could have won the World Challenge thing. So it's
Yeah.
cool to hear a team owner say, yeah, if it's something like that,
If
we
we're
can.
leading the championship, then no, he can't go
Right.
because the way our we're I think we're the priority for him. But we had him signed up in
Oh
July.
my God, is that pie?
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you so much, dear Lord.
Holy. So,
Sean, we're moving in.
yeah, about to say.
Yeah.
The-
The hell with those Taylor
The
kids.
two sons you
See
didn't
if
want.
they don't tell them like what we're serving here.
Oh, no,
So,
we'll give
you know.
them
Did
no
it? The
advantage.
bronze service? This exact same
They
thing?
actually did.
They literally did. They did
Bullshit.
pie. I swear to God. They did apple pie and vanilla ice cream, but the ice
I would
cream.
have punched Jeff Braun straight in the
You
face.
should.
That's what I'm going to do.
Dude knew. So they literally, I will say, they didn't scoop the ice cream for us. So you're ahead.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Less labor
True,
here.
True.
Yeah.
Was the apple pie heated up?
It was warm, but it was honestly, I'm assuming.
Was it Texas warm or was it effort warm?
No,
like they
it
put
was-
effort in.
No,
it.
it was like out of the oven kind of warm.
Well,
yeah.
I didn't want to say this, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
just to get you fired up because it's fun. I'm assuming Mary made the pie.
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
Very smart enough to get
Gotta say,
We-
advantage Brown.
I think the
Yeah.
Browns made their pie.
yeah,
It was in like a dish.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they don't live near anywhere.
they have to.
That's,
Right.
That's
I mean,
all
literally,
they
that
have.
They
took-
have to.
that
Yeah,
took
for-
days to
I
make
mean,
that
that's
pie.
where the Bugs Bunny and Coyote movie was cartoons were
Seriously,
filmed. It's like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, we have a video about this.
They have a tornado shelter, like a pre-bought
Yeah.
shelter
Yeah.
bolted to the floor in their, I guess in the like
in their
the
in
trailer
part of their
area
garage,
inside
yeah.
of the shop. Yeah. Could you live in your shop?
in our shop here.
Yeah.
There's a shower.
So you're fine.
There's a shower and like a couch thing. So yeah, I guess I could live.
You
there.
could make it happen.
Have you
Yeah.
done all nighters, sir?
What's that?
Have you done all nighters or need the
Yeah,
chef?
I've done
Okay,
all
okay, I figured.
He's like
You're
idiot.
having
In,
racing,
in Indianapolis,
Cole.
I remember in Indianapolis, I averaged one all-nighter every month in the shop.
I understand this.
It was a
Sorry, man.
lot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a lot of work. Yeah.
So
Do you think the Taylor brothers do a lot of all-nighters? Would you be surprised to learn that Colin Braun's childhood bedroom didn't have a window?
I would not be surprised at that.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
did you know that? Did you know that Spencer Rampelli killed a guy?
What?
How's this? Is this like a frozen pie? Or?
We were testing at Daytona one time and it was raining or damp, so I didn't want to go out, because we already know how to weld. So, so we were testing and it was with Angelelli, and he had we were a Pontiac team, and he had a GTO, a streetcar, that Pontiac GTO, the Australian
the
one.
Holden.
Oh, nice.
So he's out in the back with one of the Taylor kids, I might add, doing donuts in the what do you call the back area there? Out of NASCAR 2, all that huge concrete patch, pavement patch.
The skid pad?
Yeah, kind of like the skid. Yeah, so he's doing donuts out there. So, just like driving back and forth. It was our day, you know. So then all of a sudden,
Oh, this is like on the oval on the inside of the back straight? Yeah.
So all of a sudden, here comes security truck, Pontiac GTO, security truck, driving back in, real slow. Oh, Max too. So I go over there, and Max, you know, he was outstanding in the car, but out of the car there was always an issue. You know. So So we go up there, and they go, "Is this your driver?" Yep. You know what he was doing? I think he was doing donuts. And they're like, "Yeah, he was doing donuts all over Mr. Francis racetrack." You know, because this is when Bill Jr. was alive. I'm like, I'm sorry about that. He goes, "What's his name?" It's Max Angelelli. He goes, "We're going to consider not ever letting him back in this property again." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, what did you say? You mean I don't have to work with Max at Daytona ever again?
You promise?
This is like the greatest news I ever heard. Ever. But they let him back in.
Damn.
Then one time, I think it was
Now you're
another-
like encouraging him to do it again.
yeah.
Like, I bet you
Yeah,
can't.
well, yeah, Max. They
Egging
said he
him
could
on.
go do more donuts. Go ahead. So
Cleared it.
yeah, we checked the pressures. It's all good. So one time we almost got thrown out of Daytona again. I think we were third in the championship that year, and I knew what pit we're gonna. That's when you could pick what pit you want. And I'm like, okay, well, Ganassi gonna pick pit box 1.
Yeah.
Taylor's gonna pick 5 where the opening is, so I'm gonna take 6. You know, we're just on the other side of the opening. I know which one I'm gonna get. So we were testing there in December, and we had Ryan Hunter-Ray there. So I'm like, you know, and I just got out of cup. I'm like, well, let's rubber in the box. Let's
Right.
rubber this box
Right.
in. So when middle of the night, you know, we got black streaks. So we disconnect the rear brakes and just start, and we had our third gearbox in the car. We're like, let's just rubber this gearbox up, this deal up. So we put down some bleach, and he just turns it over, and he's going half a mile an hour, just smoking the tires
Smoke
out
show.
for like 50 yards. Then we pull him back, and he'd do it again. Pull him back, do it again. And then finally, the security guy like comes to a screeching halt, and goes, "You guys have to leave." We're like, what? They're like, Mr. France doesn't want you doing that at the racetrack. I'm like, oh, okay. Because he's right up there.
Yeah, he's watching.
And he's like,
Yeah,
he's
he's
watching
watching.
this whole episode of all these guys laughing, doing all these burnouts in this pit box, you know, and smoke rolling out of the thing, and everybody's laughing and high-fiving each other and stuff. But we did have good launches at the 24 because of that.
So
Have you ever tried the can of Coke trick?
Who told you that?
No one, nothing.
No, I mean,
Sorry.
when did you do it?
I haven't done it.
Really?
I race ST.
Oh,
I
because
guess-
it's got
we don't do
built-in
pit
traction
stops and
control.
World Challenge.
Well, the Coke thing, that's for so the guys don't slip carrying the tires around.
Right.
It's not
yeah.
for the car.
Oh, it's from a NASCAR person that told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, but we used to do that all the time. Then Grand Am told us no.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they knew what they were doing.
This was like at the same time period. We used
Right.
to Coke the box. So like all the boxes, you know, they'd be.
So does Kevin. Very
Yeah,
different
exactly. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I'm sorry. We used to Pepsi the box. So actually, RC Cola. We used to RC Cola the box. So everybody's pit stall would be like kind of light gray. Then ours was like black. There's ants everywhere and all this stuff. You know, because we'd start RC in the box. You know, on Friday. So you know, by Sunday it's like it's a big science project.
So you've known the Taylor brothers for a really, really long time.
Yeah, since they were born. They're good kids. I mean, I know I give them kids.
You constantly, like when you see him, just like buck up at him, like do something.
No, it's more of a Kuno thing.
Oh, no, I just hate Kuno.
Yeah, I just hate Kuno.
Is he the most gorgeous guy you've had on your team?
He's a pretty guy.
Kuno's a beautiful man.
He's a beautiful
You know,
man.
he's Elvin. He's 137 years old.
Wow, he looks great.
Yeah, he looks really good.
Sean's like
Really.
24.
That's true. Yeah, it's not going well.
When I was running the Viper program, and it's kind of funny with Facebook because it is kind of a tool. You won't.
It has a lot of tools.
Yeah, you won't send. Yeah, true. You won't send a text or an email to somebody, but if you see they're on Facebook, you'll say, hey, just wondering, if you're gonna send that wire you promised, kind of thing.
In racing?
Yeah. So then, I'd be on there, just have it on in the background, I'm doing something, and all of a sudden I'd see Kuno come up. He'd turn green. So I'd go, I'd go, good morning. He'd say, good morning. And I go,
He's sweating immediately.
yeah,
Like,
I go,
what have I done?
I like, what are you doing spending time on Facebook? Shouldn't you be working out? so like I use a lot stronger language than that. So anyway, every time I see Kuno, we always have a big, huge fight. We always have a huge fight.
like I
So
said, he's known for being just the worst person.
he is an evil man. He's an evil man. Evil man. He probably has the nicest soul in the paddock.
Yeah, he's a nice guy for sure.
That's probably why I don't like him.
That's probably why I hate
Probably
him.
why I hate
Yeah,
him.
fair enough.
Maybe it came through Angelelli, but what's the best talking to you've got from the series?
In 04, we were, it was us and Ganassi, and we both had our cars, and no one else had them. And they were fairly stout.
Oh, the
And
new
we-
DPs.
Yeah, and we were at Watkins Glen. And it was, Angelelli was qualifying against Pappas. And Max, they have a big rivalry going on for years ago. And, then Max ran my foot over. So, I'm like,
Now he's dead to you.
I'm like, and Max Angelelli was kind of odd because
We know.
he liked to be yelled at. And he would always wear a
Like-
heart rate monitor.
Like
monitor.
coached along, yelled at, like
Yeah.
get your ass up and go.
Yeah. And we'd monitor his heart rate on telemetry, and sure enough, when his heart rate was up, he would go do a faster lap time. Plain and simple.
Huh.
Magnuson, his heart rate was like 2.
Right.
I mean,
That's
he
why he
was,
smokes to keep it up, right?
yeah, exactly. He was like,
that salt.
and everybody's different on what they do for heart rate. So heart rate for you might be different than Angelelli, but Angelelli needed a high heart rate. So you would just, I'd have to coach myself, like, I'm going to have to go be mean to Max today, and all this stuff. So you had to coach myself to do it.
Like
so
watching Lenny Bruce before he goes in.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, listen to George Carlin
So
stand
like,
up.
I'm walking with Max to pit lane for qualifying. I'm like, we are qualifying on pole today, and you are not going to let us down. It's like, I know. I go, yes, you do know. You're going to qualify, and you're going to be on pole, and you are going to kill everybody. It's like, I know. And then, he gets in the car and plugs in his heart rate monitor, 174. I'm like, yeah, nice. We're going to have a good qualifying session, Goes out there, and he's running hard, and then on like the first timed lap from Pappas, he snaps an axle. Pappas snaps an axle, comes into pit lane, and we don't really tell Max Angelelli that, and we out-qualified the field by like 2 seconds. Like we're 2 seconds on,
Right.
Like it's bad.
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
And then and I got called into the NASCAR truck, told never do that again.
right. Never do a good job.
Never do that again.
Yeah. Who's the biggest pain in your ass currently that doesn't drive for you? Like guys that are like, hey, Bill, you got anything for me? Bill.
Oh, that. Oh,
And you don't have to say Mark Miller, even though I know you
no,
want
no.
to.
Oh yeah, it's definitely Mark Miller.
Adam Saul.
Yeah, we should have fun with Mark Miller right now.
We're definitely
Yes,
calling
we
Mark
should.
Miller on
Okay, do you
speakerphone.
guys mind if we do that now?
Oh,
Or just put it
hell
on
yeah.
speaker?
We've
Yeah.
actually.
I got a trick. I got a trick I want to do. I saw this trick. It's not my trick, but I want to see if it works.
Let's put this.
So you guys can be the audience here. Yeah, actually, since this will air in November, Mark's going to drive for us at Daytona.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Nice.
Very
He's
cool.
gonna- yeah, so it'll be.
The golf cart or?
Yeah, he's going to drive me around in a golf cart. It'll be Jerome, Farnbacher, Ben, and Mark
That's huge.
in the 33.
So you're totally game in the driver rankings thing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
See, now that, so if that driver ranking thing wouldn't have worked out, Mark would have been out.
Right, which
Without a doubt.
sucks. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But it's Mark's job to be good enough to get opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want an opportunity. Don't get me wrong.
If he moves from bronze, he's out too.
Right, so, yeah. Tough road. That's awesome, though. He's got a chance to watch.
I mean, we need a bronze. We need a bronze at Le Mans. Simple as that. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, sorry, there was a rainstorm we're going through.
Oh, no problem. Hey, I just got a new phone and it's pretty cool. I just want to know if I want to try one of the features out on it.
You got a new phone?
Yeah. Watch, it can do this.
And we're not
He's
going to
so-
tell him.
He's so mad right now.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Call him
He's
back.
called back, called back. Hey, did it work?
Yeah, I just wanted to fill you in. All phones can do that.
Oh, okay. All right. These guys really wanted their casserole tonight, but I served them steak instead.
Oh, yeah. Screw those guys.
I'm with you, Mark. You and me, we're together for life. I've been sticking up for you, I promise. What's that?
Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
He sounds so annoyed.
He's not on ours.
We're going to go now, okay?
Does
I
he?
know.
Does he know the 24-hour thing?
Yeah, he knows.
Hey, congrats on the 24. I won't tell anybody.
What are you talking about?
Good job, Mark. I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, see you, buddy. Bye. He's a good person, too.
I love that guy. Him and Eric Foss have been like my two go-to friends in the
Yeah,
SD
yeah.
paddock.
When I think Ben called Mark, or we called Mark and told him, hey, you're going to Le Mans, type thing. And Mark, he couldn't handle it. He had to hang up.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. So that was probably the feel-good moment of last year.
When you guys flew back from, or at least when those guys flew back, they came back private. And I guess somebody was supposed to, like Sweedler was supposed to be on the flight with them, and he bailed out. And so he told Mark, hey, hop on the plane with those guys
right.
and come back over.
Yeah, there's an empty seat. Yeah.
And they landed at the Detroit County Airport?
City Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was there with Road and Track doing our magazine shoot. And so I start getting texts from Mark of our, like he could see our truck and trailer. And I'm like, where are you? Because you can't tell really where anybody is. Like, we're on that giant plane over there. So then he came up the next day, and we were testing at Gingerman, which isn't too far from him, and we were doing like another media thing. So he came up, and we took a bunch of pictures of him in the car, and he was supposed to send them to you, but I don't think he ever did. But he's literally like in his SRT Riley shirt, with the whole thing, and he's sitting in the car like, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'm sure the Acura guys love that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, oh, why didn't you choose me? Why didn't I get the ride? Why didn't I? And we did run 5 bronzes through the car, then we picked Mark. 3 guys. 2 guys weren't quite there, and 2 guys talked themselves out of the ride.
I was going to ask you.
Mark got the ride.
I was going to ask you. I heard a rumor that he was very fast, but he wasn't the fastest, but he was the best because he didn't, like you just said, talk themselves out of the ride.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then obviously he gels well with the team and all that, and so it's pretty deal. But to that side of it. The decision on Mark, that was kind of a group decision. It's not one person.
Mm-hmm.
But, I knew Mark from racing shifter carts in '99.
Yeah.
So people are like, well, why didn't you pick me? Well, I haven't known you for 15 years.
Sure.
I'm sorry, but,
Yeah.
there's a bit of trust there. And I engineered for Mark when he drove in the MX-5 Cup in 2000.
That's right. I remember MER
10
or
maybe?
something
Yeah,
like
he drove for MER
Yeah.
2009 or 10, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So for any young drivers who were looking at what to do and not to do, what does talk yourself out of a ride mean?
Clearly nothing from tonight,
Yeah.
right?
No, exactly.
Do as
No,
I
I mean,
say,
it
not
was
as I
just
do.
kind of like,
Just remember who bought you barbecue sauce.
it was just like, for example, we did a test pretty well, and just one of the drivers, kind of didn't respect Jerome, so that didn't work out.
So one of them was a moron.
Yeah, how do you
Yeah,
do
so-
that?
Yeah. Hey, you win
Yeah.
everything.
And the 2 guys that weren't quick enough were both very nice people.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I mean, they if they were quick enough or took to the
They
car
could've been
better,
run, yeah.
probably took the car better might be the right term.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a deal that I had to tell Ben, like, well, do you think this guy would be good enough if we gave him more time? And I'm like, well, it's not about that. I mean, this isn't a driver development program.
Sure.
We're going to Le Mans.
Got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to go.
Yeah.
So, but talking your way out, it was just one guy didn't really respect Jerome, so that's not going to work. And Jerome's
blows my
Jerome
mind.
is
Yeah.
like at the racetrack. I don't know how well you know him.
Not very well, but he's
But
I
so
know pretty
nice
well.
to
He's
you.
the
know,
nicest guy in the world.
He's like
Yeah.
a Labrador Retriever, just
Yeah.
like wagging his tail the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like happy as can be.
Yeah.
So to not get along with Jerome, you're in big trouble.
I've actually only spoken a few words to him, but for some reason he is really nice to me. Maybe from our TRG experience, like,
Or he thinks you're somebody else.
no, he knows who I am now. Yeah, he actually wrote my name,
Oh.
Sean. No, but he's always been super nice to me. And like when I got the Acura thing, he wrote me like a paragraph note on Facebook, like, "Oh, great job, man! Really happy for you." And I'm like, that is so unexpected to me from a European to an American driver about an opportunity.
Yeah, he's
So
really
me,
he's really a good person.
and he's awesome.
And that's kind of like that whole sums up why these last few years have been good, is because when you have people like Ben Keating, Mark Miller, and Jerome Bleekenmolen, and and then you have the other add-on people like Kuno, Dominic, and Goosens involved, and Bomrito. Those are all pretty nice people.
Yeah,
You're not going to have anybody that's really going after someone else's throat or being an asshole, or you got to talk them down, and you got a pretty good group all pulling in the right direction. And that makes it a lot nicer. And a lot of that was SRT's direction at the beginning for the GTSR, that they only wanted nice people.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a great thing to look for because
because 74 people applied for that seat.
Yeah.
The seat in the GTSR.
I know some that didn't get that seat that wanted to, so I'm gonna get to enjoy calling them dicks. You know why I didn't get it? No.
Yeah, I know why.
I heard you weren't very nice. We had a really cool discussion with Lally about when he wasn't in the seat and he didn't have a ride and he was going to Daytona, and he told a story about chasing Kevin Dorn basically into the garage to the point where Dorn was hiding in the cockpit pretending to work on something until he left, so to speak. Do you still get that? Do young drivers come find you and want to impress you?
I had I can't remember the kid's name fairly recently though, but he called me on Christmas Day
to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, now just one thing, like if Goosens called me on Christmas Day, or Mark Miller, even if you guys called me on Christmas Day, I'm like, oh, Sean,
it's all good.
Hi, Sean. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Yep. I'm drinking eggnog too. You know? But like to call you up, and I have 3 boys that live in Massachusetts, so 3 young boys. So I'm, with them during the holidays. So I mean, to have someone call you up on Christmas Day, so that's kind of like
it seems obvious. Well, the other thing is like you got to measure their intelligence.
Is this
by
kid
that,
Jewish?
Huh?
Is the kid Jewish?
Is he cooking for us tomorrow night? No, he was from Europe. So
Interesting.
And it's coming up now. It's kind of funny now. People calling you up now, like, oh, just to let you know that I'm available for the 24-hour Daytona. I'm like, if you think I put my driver lineup together on Halloween, you're crazy.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I mean, our driver lineup was pretty much set, but I mean, we had to pick between 2 drivers, Dominic or Goosens. But besides that, our lineup was set a long time ago in our head.
Right.
Obviously Mark Miller didn't know about it till recently.
Right.
But it was set in our head. But to think that it's December and I'm going to get a ride in the 33 car, no, my car's we were all set.
Yeah.
Say you bring a lot of money, then we're going to get Mark Miller out of there.
Right. See you, Mark.
Yeah, see you, Mark. Sorry, Mark.
Thanks for the casserole.
Hey, but we are going to let you spot for us.
Great casserole, buddy.
Yeah.
Team loves it.
Yeah. Why don't you bring your casserole up to that spotter stand up there and call the race for us? Why don't you?
Yeah. So we walked in, and of course, Le Mans was on the TV.
Which is so cheesy.
Which is like, was that because we were coming?
You totally did that.
I usually sometimes have that on for background.
That reminded me of the scene. Have you seen the movie Anchorman?
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay, that
I'm trying. I was trying to think.
Kind of reminded me of the scene where he calls her into the office and he's curling 100. Oh, 100. Oh, hey, I didn't know you were coming. No, Le Mans.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that.
Oh, yeah, Steve McQueen, great
no,
actor.
The one other movie I used to have on for background a lot was Senna.
Yeah.
I used to always have that movie on.
Yeah, fantastic film.
But I had to pick between Senna, Rush, and Le Mans. I thought, since I assumed this was going to be more sports car oriented, I'd stay with
Go in there.
Le Mans.
So what? So in the real world, what's in the DVR?
What's in the DVR? There is Family Guy.
All right.
Totally.
There's Tosh.0.
Oh,
There's
right.
There is Last Man on Earth.
Okay. Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the second season.
Yeah.
Yep, and then
Shaw
there's
and-
then Mary stuff, and then
Like Girls Gone Wild.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Usual.
exactly,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So, and then South Park is in there.
Okay.
It used to be Top Gear, and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
is pretty much what's in there.
I was surprised to see so many Ferrari Gilles Villeneuve pieces
Well,
of art in the living room. Is that a
As
hero of yours?
As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in the streets of Detroit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did actually, but my mom drove a Pinto from 1973 to 1981,
That's
and
awesome.
then drove a Zephyr wagon after that. So, if
Cruising.
you wonder why I'm off, it could be because of that. Both of them were wood-sided, still in
Well,
the
you
crate.
got to do it.
Yeah,
right?
it's still in the
Yeah,
crate. That was
yeah.
the way to go back then. So anyway, growing up in Detroit, there wasn't a lot of racing on TV, but we had Canadian TV from Windsor.
Okay, yeah.
So all the Formula One races were on TV. So obviously, I liked Villeneuve quite a bit, Gilles Villeneuve, and that was my hero. When I was growing up.
Right.
You
And
know,
so you
until
just
obviously passed.
got the artwork going.
Yeah, and then when I was rich, I started buying artwork when I could.
Where did it all go wrong?
Where did the rich go
Yeah,
wrong?
I mean, just the whole thing.
When Reynard went bankrupt.
Okay.
Because Reynard bought us in 1999 and went bankrupt, a year and a half later.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about
forgot
that. Yeah,
about
with
that.
the F1 and the. Yeah.
Well, sorry
Yeah.
about that.
I was rich for a while.
So
Pretty cool.
with Lola going under recently and now becoming kind of like Multimatic and
Yeah, I think I don't know what happened there, so I probably can't
Sure.
comment. But
Yeah.
anyway. But
But
yeah,
my
exactly.
kind of question is like, does that worry you as a manufacturer that like it's getting harder and harder to sustain, or do you feel like because of your pretty freaking solid reputation? that
No.
you're-
I mean, obviously, money's always a concern, and what you
Yeah.
do is always a concern. On how you grow the business and all that stuff. But we're fortunate enough that we're growing. Right now, we're going to be in a growth spurt soon and reinvest quite a bit. We reinvest everything back into the company. So I'm not too afraid of failing because I know the worst thing that could happen to me right now. The absolute worst thing is I would lose my job, not have a job, have to go work for a cup team and double my salary.
That'd be terrible.
That's the worst. That's the worst possible thing that can happen
and
to me
you
right
live
now.
in a terrible part of the world for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
worst
Oh, thank you.
case is that.
Because to me, the how you kind of scale out for what you're going to do is the thing that blows my mind. Because you build an LMP3 car, which takes capital, it takes resources, it takes a ton of investment in time, people, materials, you name it, and you have no idea if you're going to sell one of these things.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
this isn't this
well,
isn't something you can steal from China.
you talk about the successes of our company, and Bob and I were actually talking about it the other day. We Riley Group, we're 5-0 on sports cars: Intrepid, Mark III, DP Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3. So we're 5-0 right now. That's our record.
Mm-hmm.
And the track day car was a success also, but that for competition. But like what you don't hear about, or we don't talk about, or I mean we'll talk about it, but for example, the GT2 Corvette we built for Lou Gelati.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we built the GT2 Corvette. We saw a hole in the market spot for a GT2. Brad Miller was doing GT1, so we built that car just like we're going to sell some of these in the U.S. We're going to sell some of these in Europe. We're not going to tread on Brad Miller's toes. Be perfect. The car was okay, but politically it was a flop. It didn't work out.
Right.
So we only built one. And then obviously it's a huge investment.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't always hit it out of the park.
Is the last time you guys were in IndyCar it didn't go that well?
No.
Is that unfinished business?
It is for Bob. My father he's pretty much an Indy 500 nut. Okay. So he loves the Indy 500, and that's what he grew up listening to on the radio. And in the 70s, he's pretty strong there, with Foyt. So he loves the Indy 500, but it's so different now than it was, so spec. I get the chills when I go there still. Our shop was a quarter mile from there when we were in Indy, and winning the last sports car race there with the Viper, that was pretty fulfilling. Because at Indy, my record at Indy, not my record, but the teams I was on record was run up front or go home.
Right.
Yeah.
That we're front row, last row. What are we going to be this year? So I mean, Indy is a hair unfinished, but it'd have to be such a dramatic change to ever get back there.
Right. Well, the series would have to be totally different without even allowing.
And they can't really allow people to build their own cars because the cost would go way out of control.
Yeah.
So, and then in 2000, it was a weird deal, very weird deal. We finished second and third at Phoenix at Disney. Went to Phoenix, and Cheever, one of our teams, switched to Dallara, and Buddy Lazier crashed in practice our car. Got the backup car out, which was kind of not a very good car. Started last, won, went all the way through and won.
Yeah.
and then they switched to LAR for Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So we had a car that was running up front, but all of a sudden our teams both switched.
Right.
So there might have been something going on.
Important topic for me. Let's just get right into it. The arcade game in the living room.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What is it again? What's the game?
It's got every game in
I
it.
was going to say,
It's okay.
like
So-
every game? Like you got Excite Bike in that thing?
I don't know.
Paperboy?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. No. You got pole position?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, calm down.
How
Calm
are you?
down. Jeez.
I think a lot of that purchase was, I think we do reward things. Mary and I do. And that was a reward probably for, I don't know what it was a reward for. Probably 2013. And Mary loves Galaga.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, that's one
so,
of the first games.
So
Yeah.
there, Galaga's on there and all that.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
We jump on there every now and then. Not as often as we should.
No, we should.
Where'd you get it?
How much does it weigh?
Yeah. What's
Do
the
you have
asking
straps
price
where
on
it'll
that?
fit on?
You guys are moving, right?
No, it's coming with us. So
So
Fits in the new house.
you make salmon like that. You clearly like racing, and you're okay with that being in the house with it. With it.
How'd you
Nice.
get
you
stuck
make
with this
salmon
guy?
like that? I made the
Was
salmon.
that yours? Oh, I thought you made
Yeah.
the salmon. Okay.
No.
Okay. Then I take
No.
it back.
Okay, well,
Forget it.
Replace
Potatoes.
that with you
Okay.
tolerate
Potatoes. Say
Bill.
potatoes.
Okay, you made
Yeah.
the actually the potatoes were really good.
Potatoes are good. You tolerate Bill.
You tolerate Bill. You like racing. You're okay with an arcade in your house, which would never work at my
And
place.
racing artwork.
Yeah, and racing artwork. What did they? How did he do this? That doesn't make sense to me.
I'll
did you make
tell.
this
I'll
happen?
tell you when
Started it.
we went to Paris about a year ago, and we flew in Friday night, got there Saturday morning, and walking around, and got engaged that day, and then
Hey, congrats.
Yeah,
got
just like,
engaged.
oh, by the way, here you go.
By the way, yeah, here's you go. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No. So then this is how I knew. So after we got engaged, this is how I knew it was right.
Okay.
It was Sunday, and I go, "What do you want to do?" And we're in Paris. We're staying in a nice hotel and all that stuff. And she goes, "You know what? I've never been to Le Mans. We should go to Le Mans for the day." And this was like on a November 5th
Right, so the
day.
track's
So there's
accessible.
nothing
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
So we drove down to Le Mans for a day. So that was it.
Winner.
Yeah.
Nice
Right?
job.
I love racetracks as much as you love cars.
Yeah, she likes going to racetracks.
But if Kuno Whitman were here,
But if Kuno Whitmer was here,
I mean,
the world's most
game would be
beautiful.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell with that guy.
With that guy. So you're a whiskey guy, or are you just a booze guy?
I'm an everything
All
guy.
right, fair enough. I like that. I worked with one of your fabricators at Speed Source. This is back in, I think,
Denny Jameson?
Denny.
Yeah.
Is he back with you, or
No.
'cause he, is he alive?
I think he is. I think he's working construction in Indianapolis.
Okay.
He was one of my. He's a good person.
Yeah, I worked with him on the Speed Source GT car, which you guys did the chassis on, and I from what I understood, he kind of got loaned, or it was like a
I think they wanted. For some odd reason, I don't think he was working out with us. And Sylvan needed a good fabricator, and
Right.
Denny was really talented.
yeah,
He had the artist mentality of a fabricator.
right. He told me a story about you on a road trip once,
Oh man.
and I'm soft on the details, but the very short version of this, and I apologize ahead of time, Mary, was that
She knows the story.
you were in someone's hotel room bathroom, like you had to use the bathroom,
Yeah.
and
Uh-oh. This isn't going to end well already.
and you were in there for a while,
Yeah.
and you had taken.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna,
Yeah,
can I-
pick-
let me tell the story.
Yeah, it's way better.
I'll
I was
go-
hoping
uh,
you were going to remember.
This isn't going to go well. I don't know how to tell this story. Yeah, we might have to edit this one out. It's a good story though. That's the problem. But I don't think it's going to help me with car sales.
I'm still trying to get you an LMP3 set. You get those guys in the IMSA, I got your back.
Yeah. No, it's bad. I was pretty young. Okay. So
He's wiping his brow.
it was back.
How do I get this?
I'm
How
thinking
do I do
it was
this?
back-to-back races, Mosport to Dallas, in 1996 or 7, and Denny, it was Indianapolis. You guys been to Indianapolis, right?
Yep.
And there's 465 that goes around
Yep.
Indianapolis. Well, Denny was never out of that.
Okay.
He was always inside of 465.
Right.
Never left the 317 dialing code. And we got back from Canada and we're unloading the car, one day prep, load it back up, go to Dallas. So we're loading up. I'm loading up this tag trailer because I drove a dually with a tag on it with all the spare parts in it. for other teams and for us. Because I should be a truck driver. And there was like a massive clump of rubber, like that big. Because, we were in real big gummy tires back then, stuck in a splitter. It was like that big. And we're walking back and forth, and then he goes, "How was Canada?" And I'm like, "It was good." He goes, "What do you eat up there? Like, what's the food like in Canada? And it's the same.
Raised foreign country.
I go, it's really odd. It's really odd. Tell him all that stuff and tell him how I'm not feeling great from eating like that. So I take that clump of rubber and I shove it into a plastic bag.
Yes.
And I take it down
Yes.
all the way to Dallas. I talk the story up the whole way down to Dooley.
It's poutine.
And then finally, when we jump into Dooley in Indianapolis, he tells me he got a DUI and he can't drive. So I drove the whole way to Dallas. And the first night in the hotel room, him and I were sharing a room, and I threw that thing in the toilet and didn't tell him. And he freaked out.
The way he tells it was above the rim.
Oh, yeah.
He came in and it was sticking out of the rim, and he was like, "Oh my god!"
It was horrible. Yeah, I did that. I'm sorry. I did that.
That's all I can remember from that whole year.
Yeah,
2006 or whatever that was.
You're a terrible person.
Yeah, I did
That's
that.
awesome.
I did that.
So a recurring thing we've been doing on the show is a pass-along question.
Okay.
And so we had lunch earlier today with Simon Pagenaud, Penske race car driver and just all-around badass. And he had to answer a question from Sarah Fisher. And one of them was, how many times have you been called John Gerard?
Oh,
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Which he was not.
Apparently he's over that.
Yeah,
joke,
he was like, "Oh, good.
yeah,
good times."
again.
His question for you though was, if you could go backwards in time, what would you do different?
Well, racing-wise, I would have, when the IRL came out in '96, when it got announced we were racing a sports car, and that was all going along well. And they gave us an option whether debuting a car in January or debuting it in July in '97. And they were going to pre-buy 10 cars from us if we did January. And then, you go down and they had like one room at the Speedway Hotel and they had one meeting and all the teams picked what car they're going to go with. So it was us. It would have been us against Dallara and G-Force in 1996, which no one knew of Dallara or G-Force too much at that time.
Yeah.
And we were so busy with sports cars and we had a street car we were building. We said, okay, we want to come in the summer. That was our biggest mistake.
And what was the difference? Just
You would have had a volume
we
of
would have had all the
sales.
right teams. We would have had a dominant car because the way our car debuted in July was a lot better than the way their cars debuted in January.
Yeah.
And we would have been a huge success in IRL.
And you would have sold enough to really have the capital to go
That was
for
my
it.
biggest mistake.
so you actually have regrets.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we
Thank
had.
Oh,
God.
I did
Yeah.
not
Oh,
understand
God
that.
bless
no
you.
regrets.
We were
what would
talk-
you do differently? Oh, nothing.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were just talking about, like, I can name
yeah,
10
like
things
I
this
would
week. Like,
I would have been in the paddock at Daytona and pulled that drunk guy away from Spencer hitting him.
It
You know
saved
what I
his
mean? I
life.
would've done
Yeah,
that
you
guy.
could have been a hero.
I could have been a hero.
Now that guy's dead.
Yeah, yeah. Way to go, Spencer. I never really understood that, there's one thing to say, okay, I like my life and I wouldn't make any changes. That is a true statement
Yeah.
that we could all pretty much have. But then to say, I have absolutely no regrets in my life at all. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely
really?
agree. We
Really, you never made a mistake.
this
It's
morning
why
we were
we
saying
like
the
you.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never crapped your pants when you were 3.
Yeah.
You're telling me that right
On
now.
accident, you mean?
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
ever
on
regret
purpose,
about
of
that.
course,
You know what I
but,
mean? That's just the weirdest thing. Oh, you never broke a plate.
Yeah.
You never broke a glass. You know what I mean? So I that irks me that people
Yeah.
say I don't have any regrets.
Don't care for that myself.
Yeah.
So to follow up on your question from Simon, tomorrow we'll be having dinner with Jordan and Ricky Taylor,
Yeah.
Favorite
who
people.
you have heard of.
Yes.
You were familiar. And
We've
if
met.
You've met them, right?
Yeah.
You've probably seen them in diapers.
Yeah, we've met.
If you could pass along a question to them, and it doesn't have to be racing related,
Good.
what would it be?
Can it be a kind of a multi?
Let's get into it.
Multi-part.
Yeah, like little paragraphs, these guys.
I want to do the last time those two had a fight that involved tears. What was it about and who won?
Yes.
Oh,
I think that's a good question.
that's a very good question.
I'll also say that was probably the quickest.
I thought about it all
Yeah, you
day.
knew it.
Yeah, he's like, "Ooh."
You
Yeah.
read the email.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did read the whole email. I promise.
You were the one. Derek Walker didn't.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I mean I could go on for a long time with those guys, but
Do you have any good dirt on them that they probably wouldn't want us to
no,
know
they're
about?
pretty squeaky clean. I mean those videos are kind of awkward, but
I've
besides
been,
that,
I've been in like 3 of them.
I know they're still awkward. But
I
More
know,
so now.
Downgrade.
but no, I don't have any dirt on those kids. They're good guys.
Jordan likes to really put himself out there with the funny haircut and the
Yeah.
videos that we've done and just being a goofball.
Mhm.
But he's also extremely talented, especially for how young he is and how much
Absolutely.
he has to go
Yeah.
ahead of him. Does it take away from you, like your opinion of him, and take away that you've known him since he was a kid? If you just met him, the last couple of years, he just came on the scene, and he acts the way he does off the track, but then gets the results he does, you still hire that guy? You still look at him?
Depends who you are.
Right.
Depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to start a new skateboard line or new sunglass line for skateboarders, yes.
Right.
If you're trying to sell high-end luxury cars, you might think about it.
Sure.
Did you not look at them as seriously as a driver?
No. It has nothing to do with racetrack performance.
And see, I would back that up with you because, he's obviously proven it on the track, but like,
What does that look for?
well, Dominic had a reputation for having a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Dominic
ago. Farnbacher, yeah.
Really?
Let's just say there are stories that I don't think he'd appreciate being told here,
But
but
those stories are inner series.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Joe Fan doesn't know.
No,
that-
I understand that, but that's what I'm
Right.
saying. So, but we're not talking about the fan. We're talking about Bill Riley, the guy who's making a race
Right.
team and picking his driver lineups.
Yeah.
And you have to have heard some of his legends and
Dominic, yeah.
And it clearly didn't influence your decision
It
to bring him
it
on.
worried me a little bit
Yeah.
at first, but then when you saw him with at least on the 2012, 13, and 14 program, it wasn't like he was partying all night, showing up hungover or
Yeah.
drinking. I kind of have a little bit of a problem if you drink too much, and the next day you're in a car
Yeah,
or working on
absolutely.
the car.
Right, right.
And I usually joke with the guys that I have a 2-drink maximum, if we're going to run the car the next day, but I also have a 2-drink minimum.
Right.
So
Yeah, you better get out there and
So I'm gonna
play,
have
yeah.
2 drinks, but when I saw Dominic partying hard, it was either on vacation because we've gone on vacation with him I think 3 times now, or after we ran the car, after checkered flag.
Right.
So that was all fine and acceptable to me.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard a rumor of him pre-race party.
No.
Yeah,
Just
I'm not saying
his
you were
his
insinuating
off-track
that, but
yeah.
he does
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
reputation
his off-track
for being
was-
a
yeah.
good time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
for
fun
sure,
time.
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and he is a good time on vacation. He's a real good time. He's a real good time. What do you say?
That's too much good looking in one team. I gotta say,
Yeah, seriously.
Dominic
How-
and
Dominic
like,
and
Kuno?
how is
Kuno,
that
and
not
yeah,
rated?
how does that? Yeah,
How's
I was about to
talent
say.
like rated, but
Yeah.
then not looks?
Well, then you got Mark
True.
Miller to balance it, but
Yeah, you got Mark.
I'm not going to let you have that one. I think he's a
Okay.
good-looking man.
Mark
He's a little
Miller?
shorter than I would take, but I'd still cuddle up with him. I'll fight that to the death.
Exactly. On the inside that counts.
He's definitely going to listen to this one too.
Oh,
yeah.
So
Oh,
he's
yeah.
really
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Heckman.
I'm gonna get him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get him.
You know what, though? The hell with him. He's a guy that's getting a ride at Daytona, Sebring, and Le Mans again in petite.
Yeah.
Not
No,
bad.
Yeah,
deal.
how hard can
I'll
life
take
really
that.
be?
You're gonna have to,
I'll take
did
that
you,
job.
Did you
Yeah.
hear what we did to him at Le Mans Pictures?
Oh no, we did not.
Oh, really?
Here it comes.
It's awesome.
Oh,
It was
everyone's
awesome.
excited.
You know how you usually have the team picture at Le Mans with
Yeah.
everybody all sitting there? Well, I had the photographers take one with Mark Miller out. So the whole team was there. Everybody was there.
No.
And I go, okay, let's take one with Mark out of here. So we made Mark go over there. And we took a team picture without Mark.
I picture him right now. He's like sitting in a candlelit room crying. Like, these guys don't like me.
He's for sure. You know, but no, he's got a ride at
I
Daytona.
love that kid.
He's
That's
got a
so
ride.
awesome.
Please tell me he did get one with him in it.
What's that?
He did get one with him.
Oh,
in it.
for sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but just to mess with him a little bit. Like,
Yeah,
why
then-
don't you step out of this one?
And Jerome, we got some white decal material. So when we were signing hero cards at Le Mans, one of a group of them didn't have Mark Miller. It was just white where Mark Miller is.
Sure.
So it was Jerome and Ben, and then just a white block where Mark Miller is.
I like this.
Yeah.
I like this.
And I think Jerome got him a a paint marker, but it was bronze. So he always would sign his name in a bronze color.
That's fantastic.
We got to collaborate more.
Yeah, I
we really
feel like
do.
there's a
there's a
lot of missed opportunities here.
I remember one of the first times we ran Goosens in the Mark III-C in 2002 at a test at Sebring. We told him that during the day he has to be careful because it's so hot here that the alligators come out of the sewers and they crawl underneath your rental car and they wait for you and they could bite you in the leg, so be careful. So he would always, you'd see him walking up to his rental car looking underneath it every time he got it.
It's pretty good.
Every time he
That's a good one.
That's good. We got to try that with the next driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun. You got to have fun with people with all that. When we had Bomberito last year, we were watching Californians, on Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
And then Bomberito, then it just ended. And then Bomberito walked in. And I go, hey, Jonathan, I'm going to, I got to go to L.A. to meet these people. And I got to go to that thermal track. And I'm flying into LAX. How do I get there?
What's sad is you said that I'm immediately thinking of what the route is.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing. It's
Yeah,
like, you take the 405 down and you cut
10
over on
and-
Van Nuys. And he went through the whole thing, and the engineering room just couldn't handle it.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's getting late.
Yeah, I'm happy. Well,
And
it's
this
10
worked
o'clock.
out
Okay,
really
I
well.
think the Denny Jameson turd story might need to be shelved.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything
yeah, I
you
know,
want, but I think
know.
it was
It's your
gold.
call.
I know. I know it's a good story.
I don't know that
I'll
you
tell
understand who our viewers are going to be.
I know, but if I
Viewer.
yeah,
My mom's not going to buy a Riley.
yeah. But we might need to. I might need a can.
I'd
now.
tell her to.
That's
but
a bit. That's a bit off.
It's your show.
Yeah, that'd be the only thing though. That's not bad. It's not Patrick Maloney or anything.
Mary, does he do any impressions?
Of Mark Miller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he drives at Le Mans. It's going pretty good. Like how you say how people sound in your head. That's how like Mark Miller sounds in my head.
You even had like the head
Yeah.
movements.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, Ryan,
was
someday
alright.
you'll get your chance at Le Mans like I did. It'll come to you if you keep pushing hard and do all the right things.
That's like somewhere between like Mark Miller and Stan's dad at South Park.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's probably my best one is Mark Miller.
Do you have an Angelelli impression?
I'll tell you another Angelo story.
That's better.
It involves we were at Gingerman, like in 04, and that in 04 you could run traction control. So, naturally, in DP at that time, not a lot of people had a lot of sports car experience. So we go ahead like, okay, well, let's get a Bosch ECU because that's the best traction control. So we'll annihilate everybody with our TC.
Right.
Which we did pretty well with. And Max was extremely talented. So we went to Gingerman testing traction control. And just like for a couple days, and it was an expensive test because all the tires. And we're driving along, the car's going along. And all of a sudden, Max gets on the radio. It's kind of quiet. And he goes, "Oh, no." And I'm like, what? He goes, "I just hit something." I go, "What did you hit?" Because the car's still going around,
right.
I don't know what you call this. He goes, "It swim, it fly, it's a quack, quack, quack." Here it comes in, there's blood and feathers everywhere,
All right, I think on that note,
Yeah, exactly.
Quack, quack.
I'm happy if you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Well, I'd say Continental's got the check, but you guys got that. So
Yeah.
Continental bought the wine.
Yeah. And
I'm still pissed off about the bronze, just so you know.
well, I mean, you'll get him in the chase. Just got to bring your A game.
It's bullshit.
I'm finished.
And that is Bill Riley. A little longer than most, but when a guy's that funny, you just kind of roll with it. So, all right, we're going to close out with another song from IC Hawks in LA. This is a personal favorite of mine, Slash from Guns N' Roses. Also available on iTunes. Have fun.
Well, he walked into the party, blew everyone away with his long curly black hair and his California shades. picked up a guitar. He was just about to play when someone came up to him, and that someone said, "Hey, you're Slash from Guns N' Roses." Well, he didn't say a word, but he put that guitar down. He gave out his cell phone, he's at every party in town. And all through the summer, the word was getting round. Well, the women came a-seeking, and the men, they threw the sweet leaf down. For Slash from Guns N' Roses, Slash from Guns N' Roses. Beechwood said, "We've got Slash." 2693 Beechwood said, "Oh yeah, well so do we." Yeah, we got Slash from Guns N' Roses, Slash from Guns N' Roses. DJs raged in the two backyards, there was fighting in the street. The attorney and the publicist pulling hair and gnashing teeth. Well, Slash came out of the mansion to see what was all the fuss. From the other house, Slash came out too. Wow, what a rush. Well, the people cried, it's a miracle, like in the days of Galilee. But no, said Slash, let's show this bash. We'll just pick up our guitars and see which one's Slash from Guns N' Roses. Slash from Guns N' Roses. Well, the crowd carried their heroes through the Beechwood mansion walls. Two Marshall stacks were waiting in the golden banquet halls, and a bright light split over the center